Chronicles of the Stellar Mecha War. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 201 Jin Sichin's Rescue. ZHU Kunjin received a call from Jin Sichin and wanted to knock the Ui Yan's head off. He knew that this wolf cub was not a good thing. He would not protect Lin Fan if he was not a member of 800! He dialed Cui Yan's phone in a mood, and it was picked up after one ring. Cui Yan, what do you mean? ZHU Kunjin didn't care about his smiling tiger character and roared, Lin Fan, we handed him to you and helped you make a mecha, and you don't care about him anymore, right? You want to kill him after he has done his job, right? The voice was so loud that Yi Guangli and others who were standing nearby heard it. They quickly backed away. It's not that I don't care, it's that I can't do anything. Cui Yan guessed that ZHU Kunjin would come to scold him, but he didn't expect the old man to be so emotional. Okay, you can't do anything. Have you thought of a solution? Have you thought of it? If Cui Yan stood in front of ZHU Kunjin, he would definitely be killed by him. I thought about it, but there is no suitable good solution. Cui Yan said calmly. Our people are also up there fighting the enemy. Go to hell. ZHU Kunjin didn't wait for him to finish his socializing. Your people. Some of them are far away, and the other 4 are hanging on the other side. Where is Lin Fan? I'm still nailed to the wall, and my body is pierced. No one has cared for a long time. Damn it. Then what do you want? Lin Fan's life is life, but other people's lives are not lives. Cui Yan was also unhappy. Whose life is more precious than whose? What should we do when we are obviously unable to win? Send people up there to die. The 800 most capable fighters are all up there. What else can we do? You can't really dispatch artillery to bombard your own base, right? Cui Yan was very calm. He didn't forget that the big boss was still here, so this application would not be approved. ZHU Kunjin wanted to blurt out Lin Fan is more important, but reason stopped him. Lin Fan can transform into a star, and her abilities and the changes she brings are indeed very important. But is she really a level higher than others? Whose life is not life? ZHU Kunjin has never been a person who despises other people's lives. He was just angry. Just wait. Knowing that arguing with Cui Yan would not lead to any results, ZHU Kunjin no longer wasted time and hung up the phone angrily. He almost smashed the phone with such force. He thought about who could help him. The first person he thought of was Old Khan. As an old monster who knows everything, Old Khan is undoubtedly the first choice to solve the problem. But it just so happened that Old Khan was in seclusion. For such immortal masters, seclusion usually lasts for a long time, and they cannot be interrupted at will in the middle. It is said that it will affect the realm. Anyway, it is more or less complicated. ZHU Kunjin knew this, so he thought of asking Cui Yan's attitude first. Otherwise, he should have found Old Khan to settle the matter early. He pondered for a while, and still got up, and ran to Old Khan's cave. No matter what, the matter is urgent. Let's go and ask Old Khan if there is any good way. When ZHU Kunjin scolded Cui Yan, Jin Sichin was not idle either. He found Dr. Zhao with red eyes and Wu Yi who was crying while holding her arm. Ask her, judging from the position of the wound on the screen, where Lin Fan should be injured. If the internal organ structure has not changed, it is likely that the liver or stomach is injured. Dr. Zhao sniffed. It's this kind of penetrating wound again. It might be better to injure the stomach. If it's the liver. What if it's the liver? Ke Wenbin and others also gathered together. A ruptured liver will be very dangerous. Dr. Zhao frowned. It's not just a problem of broken organs. The liver is a blood supply system. If it ruptures, it will cause heavy bleeding. Once a person loses too much blood, you know. But now it doesn't seem that the amount of bleeding is much. Maybe it's not a ruptured liver? Zhang Zhaoji looked at the screen, and the blood flowing out of the wound merged into a thin stream of blood, dripping down, and the flow rate was not very fast. You are wrong. Wu Yi said with tears. She has something blocking the wound. The muscles are contracting, and it's holding it up. If that thing is pulled out. Several people looked at the thick cross-section of the weapon, and didn't dare to think any further. Dr. Zero. Is there an ambulance? Can you contact an ambulance to stand by? Jin Sichin kept a clear head. Once it is safe, can you ensure that the ambulance will be dispatched as soon as possible? Yes, I can. Dr. Zero nodded, took out his mobile phone with shaking hands, tried several times, but failed to unlock the phone. Let me do it. Dr. Zero, who should I contact? You tell me. Kuang Li took out his own mobile phone. He is also from the medical department, and the two have the same address book. Seeing that the ambulance was arranged, Jin Sichin looked at Ke Wenbin again. What's wrong? Ke Wenbin asked. 818 needs to be taken out. Jin Sichin said in a deep voice. What? Ke Wenbin did not react. Xingqian needs energy, and 818 can replenish her energy. Jin Sichin looked at Lin Fan's biological data on the big screen, which was slowly decreasing. If I replenish energy now, won't it upgrade directly? Yu Guangli was a little worried. It shouldn't be. When she transformed for the first time, she absorbed 818 in an unconscious state, and then Xingqian's self-consciousness was controlling and saving her. Jin Sichin said firmly, she is unconscious now, and her data is also declining. I can't watch her nailed to the wall and wait for death. I want to try to send 818 to her and see if it works. I want to save her, even if it's just a gamble. Listen to him. Unexpectedly, when everyone was hesitating, Cui Yan nodded in agreement. After he was hung up on the phone, he heard Jin Sichin's proposal and thought he could give it a try. Zhu Kunjin said he wouldn't save people. Huh. An old man. I'll go too. Seeing that the director approved it, Ke Wenbin hurriedly said, you can't lift it by yourself. Seeing that Cui Yan didn't object, the two hurried to open the safe. Among the group of researchers, Jin Sichin had the best physical fitness. He carried the storage box on his back, and Ke Wenbin helped to hold it from behind, and ran out in a hurry. You two be careful. Cui Yan reminded them, when they were leaving the laboratory, it's best to wait until the enemy is incapable of action before leaving. Jin Sichin was about to say something to him, but he heard him say, your lives are equally precious. Well, there was no way to say anything to him. He could still tell the difference between good and bad words. He glanced at Cui Yan, whose face looked like it had been hit by frost, and he could not see any emotion. Without caring about anything else, Jin Sichin quickly ran away, and the two figures soon disappeared. On the ground, Lin Fan's consciousness was still rising and falling. Some sounds could be heard gradually in his ears. Oh, what should we do? Should we go up? What's the point of going up? It's useless if we go up. With one punch and one kick, our shells are flattened. Why is this guy so powerful? Much more powerful than Xingqian. What should we do with Xingqian? She still doesn't seem to respond. Call her again. Don't stop. Xingqian. Call Lin Fan. She is already unconscious. It's better to call her name. Lin Fan. Lin Fan. What should we do? Are we just going to watch Gao Fei get beaten? Gao Fei? Lin Fan, who was floating, suddenly caught the words that concerned her and froze. What should I do? Why is there no one to support me? Lin Fan, wake up. Lin Fan. If this goes on, Gao Fei will be beaten to death, right? Lin Fan suddenly remembered what she had said to Grandma Gao while hugging her at Gao's house. I promise you that, as long as I'm here, no one will hurt Gao Fei, okay? In an instant, Xingqian's eyes lit up green, and she slowly raised her head. Wake up, wake up. Lin Fan is awake. Everyone cheered. Wake up, Lin Fan is awake. Throw flowers, vote. Chapter 202 Method. As soon as Lin Fan looked up, he saw the green armored man pinning Yu Feng to the ground and beating him. Fu Guang arrived and grabbed the green armored man's raised right hand from behind. The green armored man wanted to attack Fu Guang with his left hand, but was knocked off balance by the rushing golden force and fell backwards. Bing Lun also took the opportunity to move forward and dragged Yu Feng to the side, a little further away from the people in the melee. Not daring to delay any longer, he rushed towards the green armored man again. Several second-generation pilots guarding in front of Lin Fan hurried over and quickly and carefully dragged Yu Feng towards Lin Fan, trying to increase the safe distance. Lin Fan, how are you? The remaining two looked at the motionless Xingqian and spoke anxiously. Gao Fei, how is it? Lin Fan asked with a trembling voice, while holding her breath. She now felt that every breath and trembling would hurt. Gao Fei is fine, how are you? Cui Yan's cold voice came from the headset. The metal collection point on the driving suit is connected to the Mecha, which can transmit the driver's heart rate, blood pressure and other physiological data to the big screen. Gao Fei was hit hard, but his heart rate and blood pressure were relatively stable, and his brain waves were normal. Compared with Lin Fan's data, he was almost fine. I'm fine. Gao Fei panted and forced himself to reply to Lin Fan. He didn't expect that he could withstand a storm-like attack just now. After the green armored man knocked him down, he kept pressing him and punched his head quickly, as if he was practicing boxing with him. Although the Mecha had protection and internal structure to cushion, the intensive attacks still injured him seriously. He felt his whole body was numb and it hurt when he moved. His arms and chest were even more painful, and his hands could not move on their own. It seemed that his arms and ribs might be broken. Fortunately, after he was free from the attack, the strong sense of oppression disappeared, and he was finally able to breathe. Lin Fan, how are you? Cui Yan's question came from Lin Fan's headset again. I hurt. Lin Fan spoke word by word, and the word hurt was still breathy, so he didn't say it very clearly. If the sound equipment in 623 hadn't been turned up high, it might not have been heard. Lin Fan, Jin Sichin brought 818 to find you. He hopes that you can absorb 818's energy. Cui Yan reported to Lin Fan. Don't come. Lin Fan gritted her teeth. When she spoke, her muscles twitched, and she felt pain. I really don't want to talk. He's gone. He just left for less than a minute. Cui Yan said after a pause. No one could persuade Jin Sichin at this time, and Lin Fan couldn't stop him. Lin Fan stopped talking. In the laboratory, everyone listened quietly to her heavy breathing, and every sound made everyone feel very uncomfortable. Boss, I can't do it. Jin Gang was thrown out again, rolled on the ground for a few rounds, and quickly got up and rushed back. Li Chunhua also felt pain all over his body, but he didn't dare to delay any longer. Just now, because of the pain, he lay on the ground and couldn't get up immediately, which gave this bastard a chance to bite Gao Fei and beat him. I don't know how Gao Fei is doing. Li Chunhua was thinking about it, but he didn't dare to look over there. He kicked the green armored man in the stomach with a flying kick. Even if we can't win, we have to fight. Song Ren's voice was very deep, and he inevitably showed signs of fatigue. He had long discovered that the opponent was stronger than Lin Fan. Usually, they were able to contain Xingqian, because Lin Fan deliberately gave in. The guy in front of him was not Lin Fan. Their strength was not enough in front of him. But can they retreat? No. Lin Fan was behind, Yu Feng was behind, and the 6-man team was also behind. There were teammates standing behind them, so they must not retreat. He followed Jin Gang's kick, grabbed one of the green armored man's arms, and at the same time tripped his feet, trying to make him lose his center of gravity. I said brotherly is not good. Gu panted and teased. He clamped the opponent's neck tightly with his arm from behind, and pulled back hard. Bah. Li Chunhua succeeded in one strike, and tacitly attacked the opponent's other hand and foot like Song Ren. I don't know how good your brother is. The three of them tried to have fun in the midst of suffering, gritting their teeth and holding on. Lin Fan, ZHU Kunjin wants to talk to you. Cui Yan suddenly said, and then ZHU Kunjin's voice sounded. This time his voice was not as slow and smiling as the last time he called, but rather rapid and fiery. Lin Fan, this is ZHU Kunjin. Can you hear me? Lin Fan snorted. ZHU Kunjin was on the other end of the phone, listening to the faint echo like a kitten, and his nose was sore. I found Mr. Kyan. He is in seclusion now, and cannot come out. But he has a way to freeze that guy. ZHU Kunjin's voice echoed in the laboratory. It's just that, because of the operation method and distance, the final freezing time is only 3 to 5 seconds. Is it helpful to you? What can be done by freezing for 3 to 5 seconds? Without a fatal blow or means of restriction, freezing is meaningless. Everyone in the laboratory thought so, and Cui Yan also frowned. The means of the Special Affairs Office. It seems to be useless. Lin Fan looked at his friends who were fighting with the green armored man, but were obviously defeated and showed signs of fatigue. He knew that if he continued, he would definitely die. If that bastard can be immobilized for a few seconds. The second generation A driver next to him saw Xingqian lowered his head again, as if concentrating on the wound on his chest. Lin Fan thought for a few seconds and said, Mr. Khan, can you follow my command to immobilize the other party? I'll start when I say start. ZHU Kunjin said something on the other end of the phone, and then replied, yes. Mr. Khan said it's okay. If you say start, he will definitely freeze the person. But the longest time will not exceed 5 seconds. You have to pay attention to the time. Why do I need you to give the command? Where's Cui Yan? Doesn't he take care of things? ZHU Kunjin suddenly reacted and said angrily, what's your plan now? Let Cui Yan discuss it with me. You take a rest and don't talk. That may not work. Lin Fan replied with a wry smile. The weapon is here with me. ZHU Kunjin didn't understand. What weapon? What are you going to attack with? Cui Yan had already guessed, and said coldly with his thin lips, the weapon on Xingqian. What weapon did Xingqian have? ZHU Kunjin didn't react. The weapon that can penetrate Xingqian can also penetrate. Cui Yan was interrupted by ZHU Kunjin before he finished speaking. You want to pull out the weapon? ZHU Kunjin didn't see the scene, but he knew from Jin Sichan's description that Xingqian was pierced, and the cross-section of the weapon was as big as a palm. It was also because the weapon blocked the wound and controlled the bleeding. Otherwise Lin Fan would have died of excessive blood loss. Now they actually want to pull it out. Will Lin Fan still be alive after pulling it out? Exclamation mark. How about you tell me a way? Cui Yan's voice was flat. That guy has invincible defense, similar to Xingqian. What do you think we should do? Apply for artillery? Even if I agree, don't forget that Lin Fan is still on the wall. Cui Yan's words slapped ZHU Kunjin's face. His mind was instantly clear, and he had to admit that attacking with the opponent's weapon was the fastest and best choice. It was indeed impossible to think of a better way in a short time. Just like this. Lin Fan gathered his strength and spoke quickly. I said start. Mr. Khan starts. Director. I know. Mr. Khan is waiting inside. As long as you shout, he will start immediately. You. ZHU Kunjin accepted the reality. Trust me. It will be soon. Lin Fan pretended to be relaxed. Ambulance on standby. Cui Yan issued an order to the medical department and informed the other drivers on the ground of the decision. Li Chunhua was distracted after hearing this and was kicked over. He wanted to protest, but Song Ren shouted in time, hold him. Lin Fan was about to draw his weapon, and the noise would naturally be loud. Rather than protesting verbally, it would be better for Lin Fan to drag this guy and get rid of him as soon as possible. After all, if the situation continues like this, come on, Lin Fan said to the second generation drivers in front of him, pull it out. Attack him with his spear. Everyone, vote for the brave Lin Fan. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 203 Kill. Lin Fan held her breath, waiting for the weapon to be pulled out. She had already thought about it. The moment it was pulled out, she would pick up the broken thing and give orders to Khan Leo at the same time, saying that while the bastard was being fixed, she would rush up and hit him too. It was a good idea, but after waiting for a while, the weapon did not move at all. The 6 pilots tried their best, but they could not shake it at all. No, we can't pull it. The captain shook his head. The power has been increased to the maximum, but it still doesn't work. The people waiting anxiously in the laboratory did not expect this result. What if it can't be pulled out? ZHU Kunjin didn't expect it either. He was worried about what would happen after it was pulled out, but he never thought that it might not be pulled out. Lin Fan frowned. How could this happen? She held the exposed part of her chest with one hand and pulled it forward suddenly. The long pole that had been motionless just now slid out easily. Lin Fan instantly doubted his life in pain. Didn't you say you couldn't pull it out? Lin Fan, the wound is exposed and the amount of blood is increasing. You have to be quick. Cui Yan reminded. The rod was a vertebral structure, small in front and large in the back. After the part that blocked the wound left, the cross-section of the parts forward was much smaller and could no longer block the wound. The blood flow instantly turned from a stream into a river, and Lin Fan also felt the energy in his body disappearing rapidly. The green armored man seemed to have discovered the unusual movement here and was about to come over here, killing the 3 people who blocked him. Song Ren and his men were no longer able to resist, so they could only desperately drag his hands and feet to stop him. Let him go. Lin Fan knew that there was no time to waste, so he shouted loudly. He clenched his weapons with both hands, gritted his teeth, and pulled them out directly. In an instant, blood spurted out. The green armored man had broken free from Jingang and Fu Guang, dragging the ice wheel and approaching instantly. Lin Fan turned the gun head and shouted with a mouthful of rust, "Start." The green armored man suddenly stopped moving 50 meters away from her and could not move. Success. Everyone in the laboratory cheered. Lin Fan was happy and took a step forward. As a result, she fell to her knees without the support of the wall. 4. The countdown sounded in Lin Fan's ears. It was Cui Yan who reminded her. Xingchen's blood had already pooled under her body. Lin Fan felt cold and painful, and her strength seemed to have been drained away. She tried to get up, but failed. 3. The second generation pilot next to her hurriedly went up to support her. With the support of this force and the spear, Lin Fan finally stood up. She staggered 2 steps, and the blood kept flowing, like free tap water, dyeing most of the originally white Mecha red. Everyone in the laboratory was very nervous. They couldn't help but clench their fists. 2. Song Ren and Jingang rushed over, clamping the green armored man's arms on the left and right. Binglin also climbed to the front and locked his legs. Stabbed to the heart. Fu Guang pointed out a position for Lin Fan, listened to the countdown in the headset, and used all his strength to hold the green armored man tightly. Lin Fan's eyes began to darken. 1. As soon as this word came out, it seemed to arouse all Lin Fan's strength. She thrust hard at the position Fu Guang had pointed at. As soon as the tip of the spear touched the shell of the green armored man, the immobilization was lifted. The green armored man, who had regained his freedom, discovered the danger and tried to twist his body to avoid it, but was clamped tightly by the 3 people who had been prepared. Coupled with the oncoming stars, in the blink of an eye, he was pushed out dozens of meters, and at the same time, the weapon in his hand was sent into the opponent's heart. The green armored man, who was in pain, lost his strength and fell to the ground. Lin Fan rode on him, holding the spear with his backhand and thrusting the spear tip down tightly, while the other 3 held down his limbs. Perhaps in the dying struggle, the strength was particularly strong, and several people were a little unable to hold him down. "Come and help," Song Ren shouted. The second generation pilot who was paying attention to the situation rushed over and pounced on the green armored man together. Gao Fei was unable to move and was still lying by the wall, so he could not help. 10 people were crowded together, and the shadow of the green armored man could hardly be seen on the screen. There was no sound in the laboratory, and everyone was waiting quietly for the result. Lin Fan was already out of strength when he tackled the green armored man. She was losing a lot of blood. Fortunately, the spear had already penetrated her. After Song Ren and others came up to help, he used one hand to hold Lin Fan's hand and pressed it down hard. He felt the weight of the weapon in his hand and instantly understood why the second generation pilot had tried his best to pull it out but couldn't. After a violent twitch, the green armored man stopped moving and his orange eyes went out. The mecha shell retreated and a blunt foreign man lay on the ground. Everyone dispersed. Lin Fan's eyes were red, her hands were shaking, and she was still holding the weapon tightly in her hand. Several people in the first generation armor could feel her fear. Song Ren quickly withdrew from Fu Guang, stepped forward to touch the blonde's carotid artery, and after confirming that there was no breathing or pulse, he reported to the headset. "The target is dead." Please send an ambulance as soon as possible. After saying that, he quickly held Lin Fan's hand. Lin Fan, it's fine now, you can let go, Lin Fan. Knowing that everything was fine, Lee Chun-hua and Ji Yu also quickly got out of the mecha. Lin Fan's condition was very bad, and it was inconvenient for them to move in the mecha. The second generation mechas also raised their hoods, watching Xingqian's wound bleeding continuously, and urged the ambulance in the communication. Lin Fan was in pain, tired, cold and fuzzy. She only remembered the only belief, to stab the weapon in her hand into the bastard's chest, so that he could not stand up again. She actually couldn't remember what happened afterwards, and it was all up to her body. Song Ren's call woke her up, and she gradually focused, looking at the person lying on the ground, and then looking at the weapon she was holding tightly in his heart, and then she realized that she killed someone. She was scared and wanted to stand up, but she didn't have the strength. Lin Fan, it's okay, you can let go. It's safe now. Song Ren knew that Lin Fan was a frightened bird now, and deliberately used a very gentle voice to comfort her. Lin Fan let go as he said. Perhaps she was mentally relaxed, or perhaps her body could no longer support Xingqian's state. She turned back into a human, and fell towards Song Ren. Song Ren caught her, and carried her away from the foreigner. When Lin Fan transformed, he was wearing his usual clothes, a white t-shirt with a thin red and blue plaid shirt on the outside. Now, the white t-shirt was dyed red, and there was a big hole in his abdomen. Through the hole, you can see the bright red internal organs inside. Be careful. Lee Chun-hua couldn't help shouting as he watched Lin Fan's blood flow down. As soon as she was picked up, Ji Yu looked around and there was nothing suitable for stopping the bleeding and pressing. He could only step forward and take off Lin Fan's plaid shirt. He pressed her penetrating wound up and down. Brotherly, hold it down. I have to go see Gao Fei. He's still lying there. Ji Yu said to Lee Chun-hua. He was worried about Lin Fan and Gao Fei. The guy didn't make a sound for a long time. Lee Chun-hua hurriedly took his place and pressed the shirt. But the blood soon soaked through the fabric and stained his hands. Lin Fan felt the pain so much that she couldn't help but burst into tears. She felt that life seemed to be slipping away from her. She used to yearn for death. But now, looking at the nervous Song Ren and Lee Chun-hua, and thinking about the time she had spent recently, she seemed to be full of attachment to this world again. She wanted to speak, but she spit out a mouthful of blood. Song Ren hurriedly wiped it off for her. No, boss, let's take her to the medical department. It was the first time that Lee Chun-hua saw so much blood. Song Ren also had this idea, so he picked up Lin Fan and ran towards the medical department. Lee Chun-hua followed, holding the shirt in his hand tightly. Even so, the blood was still dripping all the way. The second generation driver looked at the red dots on the ground and felt it difficult to move. Not long after running, the ambulance came towards them. Song Ren and Lee Chun-hua seemed to have heard the most beautiful sound in the world and hurriedly sent Lin Fan up. The ambulance was small and the paramedics were moving, so there was no extra room for Song Ren and the other man. Song Ren acted decisively, closed the door of the ambulance, and told them to hurry up. He and Lee Chun-hua prepared to run to catch up. At this moment, Jin Sichun and Ke Wenbin, who were a step slower, drove up. They couldn't see Lin Fan and were about to ask for help. Song Ren and Lee Chun-hua took a look, got into the car without saying a word, and pointed at the ambulance in front and ordered, "Follow. Lin Fan is so miserable. Vote for Lin Fan." Chapter 204 SQ. In the ambulance, the medical staff had long been informed of the patient's symptoms of heavy bleeding, and blood transfusion was started as soon as they got on the car. Hiss. The emergency doctor looked into the wound with a flashlight. How could such a large penetrating wound be caused? People from the medical department and the flight base did not participate in this inspection. Most of them were busy with their work, did not see the fight, and could not know what caused such an injury. Beep. The phone in the car rang. The medical staff was busy, so the driver picked it up and hung up the speaker. "I'm Cui Yan, director of the 800th Institute. How is the injured person now?" After Lin Fan was sent to the ambulance, the drone could no longer continue the live broadcast. Cui Yan quickly found the satellite phone of the ambulance from the logistics department and called it. "Director Cui, the patient's liver is severely ruptured, and the entire liver is disconnected from the middle. The emergency doctor quickly reported, the bile duct system must have been affected. Most importantly, some blood vessels in the portal vena cava and inferior vena cava were damaged, causing the patient to lose a lot of blood and is about to go into shock. The people in the laboratory were listening to the doctor quietly and suddenly heard the electronic sound of beep beep. Before everyone could react, the rapid electronic sound turned into a continuous beep. That was the sound of the heart stopping. Press. The emergency doctor didn't have time to answer the phone call. He was busy positioning Lin Fan's head, opening the airway, and quickly intubating. Another doctor quickly performed cardiac compression on Lin Fan. The amplitude of the movement was so large that the people in the laboratory seemed to hear the movement from the phone. No, her wound is too big. Pressing will cause more blood loss. The nurse who was pressing the wound next to her shouted as she watched the blood begin to overflow from the pressure bag. Add a blood bag, increase the flow rate, and give a shot of atropine. The emergency doctor quickly put oxygen on Lin Fan and ordered the nurse at the same time. Soon Lin Fan's heartbeat came back. Beep, beep, beep. The sound was weak but steady. Both the doctors who were rescuing and the people who were listening in the laboratory breathed a sigh of relief. Quick, quick, I want to go to the medical department. Dr. Zio pulled Kuangli. It was likely that she couldn't help, but it was better to be there and watch than to be in the dark here. Seeing Cui Yan did not object, Kuangli supported Dr. Zio and took Wu Yi to leave. Unexpectedly, he turned around and found the big boss. He and Zibishan were standing at the door of the laboratory with a group of people. No one knew when they came, and no one knew how long they stayed. Everyone's attention was focused on the screen and the sound, and no one noticed when a group of people appeared behind them. Big boss. Kuangli and others greeted each other. When the others heard it, they noticed the arrival of the big boss and gathered at the door. You guys are busy with yours, don't worry about me. The big boss obviously heard Dr. Zio's previous request, waved his hand, and let them go first. Of course, the opportunity to see the big boss is rare, but now, it is obvious that Lin Fan is more important. Dr. Zio and the other two hesitated for a moment and left decisively. Cui Yan also came down from the command platform. Big boss, when did you come? Why didn't you notify me? I asked Deputy Director Z to bring me here. The big boss seemed a little unhappy. What? I've become a glass man. I'm already so safe. Why do I have to hide? Everyone escorted the leader into the bunker. After going down to the underground fortress, they led him directly to a very safe room. It was comfortable in that place, and he could watch TV. But the leader was worried about the situation above, and he didn't know what happened to the child who was protecting him. He knew that as the director, Cui Yan must have a lot of things to do. He found Zibisheng and brought him to the 623 laboratory. He didn't expect Cui Yan to be here. When they came in, Lin Fan had already got on the ambulance. The leader didn't see anything, but when he heard the emergency call coming from the speakers, he knew it was not good. Big leader, your safety is the most important. Cui Yan's face eased a little, but his tone was still firm. What about now? The danger has been lifted. Can I go to the hospital to see the child? The big leader asked. The white Mecha suddenly appeared in front of the big leader and blocked the enemy's attack. She turned her head to look at him, and the scene of her asking him to run seemed to be fixed in the big leader's mind, making him unable to ignore it. No, big boss. You can't go out now. Before Cui Yan, the big boss's entourage was the first to speak out to stop him. Yes, you can't go out. We are not sure whether the other side will have a second wave of attacks. Cui Yan agreed. There are Xingqian and the Green Armored Man, so it's not surprising if there is another one. If there is really one, then it's really unstoppable. The big boss understood their concerns and nodded helplessly. Just as he was about to say something, there was another movement in the speaker. Cui Yan was in a hurry to come down just now and forgot to hang up the phone. This is the problem in the ambulance again. Ventricular fibrillation. Charge, 200 joules. The emergency doctor seemed to be well prepared and ordered calmly. The switch of the defibrillator had been turned on long ago, and the charging was completed. After the assistant doctor adjusted the energy knob, he tore the clothes directly along the hole in Lin Fan's t-shirt. The nurse quickly wiped the blood on both sides of the ribs with clean gauze to receive the electric shock. The emergency doctor picked up the electrode pad and asked the assistant to apply glue. After the nurse left, he immediately pressed the electrode plate on and quickly pressed the discharge button. In the 623 laboratory, everyone heard the sound of the body bouncing up and hitting the bedboard heavily and felt that their hearts were being twisted by a big hand, which was very uncomfortable. Cui Yan looked at the big leader with a frown and shouted, "Zhajing, hang up the phone." Zhajing did as he was told. The rescue scene is not something that everyone can accept, even if there is no sound live broadcast. There are too many people in the laboratory, and if this goes on, everyone's emotions will inevitably be affected. Director Cui. The big leader looked at Cui Yan with burning eyes. "Please, take my place. Go there to see the child and accompany her." Lin Fan's information had been delivered to the big leader a long time ago. He was originally looking forward to today's meeting, but he didn't expect this. Yes, Cui Yan was ready to go even without the big leader saying anything. After accepting the order, he nodded to Zibisheng and ran away quickly. At the control console, Zhang Zhaoji wanted to follow, but was stopped by Zhajing. "It's useless for you to go. You can't help, and will only cause trouble. It's better to wait here." Isn't Zhajing worried? Of course he is worried. After Zhang Zhaoji sat down, he was still uneasy. He leaned in front of Zhajing's computer, wanting to see what he was concentrating on. As a result, when he saw the title "How to Treat Liver Rupture" on the screen, he read it carefully. On the other side, the ambulance had arrived at the entrance of the medical department, but Lin Fan's heartbeat had not recovered, so he couldn't get off for the time being. When Song Ren and others arrived, they witnessed Lin Fan being resuscitated by electric shock, and several of them had red eyes. "Okay, it's normal." The emergency doctor also breathed a sigh of relief and shouted outside the ambulance, "Hurry, take him to the operating room. I checked a lot of rescue information from Beidou here. If there is anything wrong, please clap lightly." Muah. Chapter 205 Lin Fan's death. "Doctor, take this." Jin Sichen rushed over, pulling Song Ren, and opened the equipment box behind him, revealing the 818 inside. "Putting Lin Fan's hand on this will help her condition." "What is this?" The emergency doctor took a look and saw a round gray sphere, and he couldn't tell what it was. "What will happen if you put your hand on it? How is it charged?" "It's hard to explain the specific reason. Just think of this as a kind of energy. After she puts her hand on it, the energy inside can enter her body and repair her body. It will definitely stabilize her condition." Jin Sichen said urgently. "Good guy, it really charges?" The doctor had to look at Jin Sichen twice. "Is there something wrong with this guy's brain?" "It's true." Song Ren echoed from the side. "This thing will provide her with energy, which will definitely help her current situation. Please help bring it in." Let Lin Fan put his hand on it and establish a transmission channel. The doctor knew Song Ren and knew that he was not a person who talked nonsense. Although there is no scientific basis for this, since they all said so. "Push a wheelchair over here." The doctor didn't want to continue to tangle with them and shouted to the nurse next to him, "Put your things on the wheelchair. I'll find someone to push it in. The operating room needs to be disinfected, so don't bring the box in." The two did as they were told. "Hurry, follow me." The doctor's hands were covered in blood, and it was difficult to do it, so he directly ordered them to follow. Several people rushed to the operating room, and Lin Fan had already entered. The doctor asked the assistant inside to push the wheelchair in, and hurriedly began the disinfection procedure. A moment later, the emergency doctor who had been disinfected again entered the operating room. The person behind pushed the disinfected 818 on a cart. In front of the operating table, 4 or 5 doctors gathered in a circle, busy stopping the bleeding and suturing Lin Fan. "Where is the patrol? Put the patient's hand here," the emergency doctor said when he saw that the patrol nurse was free. The operation had just started, and the patrol was not too busy. She frowned and asked, "What is this?" In order not to hinder the surgeon, the emergency doctor ordered the assistant to park the cart next to Lin Fan's head so that she could touch it by raising her hand slightly upward. "I don't know." The people from 800 said that she could replenish her energy and repair her body condition by putting her hand on it. Really? The anesthesiologist had finished his work and could focus on other things. He looked at the gray sphere in front of him in disbelief. He couldn't see anything special about it. I don't know. If I don't bring it in, they probably won't let me in. The emergency doctor saw that everything was in order in front of the operating table. He didn't need to go up to help, so he put his hands on his chest. Let's try it out. What if it works? It's just a matter of disinfection anyway. The patrol nurse was also speechless. Putting your hand on it can replenish energy. Isn't 800 a scientific research institute? Just do it. Don't study it anymore. Seeing that the patrol did not move, the emergency doctor advised, do what they say, just in case. At least they won't blame us for not listening to them. Okay. The patrol nurse curled her lips and carefully took out one of Lin Fan's hands. She looked at the dusty 818 and disinfected Lin Fan's hand again with concern. From the gaps between the fingers to the nails, she didn't miss a single bit. After confirming that there were no spikes on the 818, she put Lin Fan's hand on it. The emergency doctor and the anesthesiologist immediately stared at the value on the monitor. Not only did it not rise, but it also showed a trend of slowly falling. See, I said this thing is useless. Several people felt relieved in their hearts that it was as expected. Before they could complain, a shrill alarm sounded. Ventricular fibrillation again. Defibrillator ready. 200 joules. The order in the operating room was instantly disrupted. The doctors who were busy suturing all stepped back and prepared to shock. Bang. This was the sound of Lin Fan's body hitting the operating table after being shocked. I'll do it. The emergency doctor stepped forward, stretched out his hands wearing clean gloves, and began to perform cardiac compression. After one round, there was no effect. Get out of the way. The doctor holding the electrode shouted and went up to give another electric shock. Then the emergency doctor continued to press. What's going on? The medical director suddenly appeared in the operating room. He looked at the rescue scene in front of him with a frown. Not good. 5 electric shocks. 4 rounds of compressions. Still no effect, I'm afraid. The chief surgeon was a little surprised by the sudden appearance of the director. Keep saving. Do your best to save. The director said in a deep voice. It was she who stood in front of the big leader just now and blocked the fatal blow for him. Cui Yan thought on the way that he would definitely not be able to enter the operating room, so he called the medical director directly and told him about Lin Fan saving the big leader and said that he was ordered by the big leader to guard the door of the operating room. When the medical director heard this, he couldn't sit still and ran over in a hurry. No one in the operating room knew Lin Fan was injured, and they thought it was an ordinary training accident. Unexpectedly, there was this inside story, and he felt even more unbearable. Selflessness is a quality that deserves respect, no matter where you are. What's more, this person is the leader they respect. The person lying on the operating table instantly rose from an ordinary patient to a hero who took the bullet for the leader. Everyone's mentality has changed to varying degrees. The desire to save people has not changed, and the desire to save her has become even stronger. Outside the operating room, Song Ren leaned against the wall beside the operating room door, and Li Chunhua squatted at his feet covered in blood. The two were motionless like two sculptures. On the chair next to him, Cui Yan sat upright, looking straight ahead expressionlessly. A few seats back were Jiyu and Gao Fei. Gao Fei leaned on the wheelchair, unable to sit properly, and his face was pale. He had multiple fractures and cracks all over his body, and was also carried into the hospital by ambulance. But when he knew that Lin Fan was still being rescued, he insisted on not going for treatment, and wanted to wait outside the operating room door for news. The doctor couldn't do anything with him, and let him come in. His fracture was not fatal, and it would not be a big problem to delay for an hour or so. It would just be more painful. Jiyu sat on the chair next to Gao Fei, glancing at the lights in the operating room from time to time, completely losing the calmness of the genius before. Dr. Zio and Wu Yi hugged each other and sat on the chairs diagonally opposite them. Kuang Li sat next to Dr. Zio, lowering his head and saying nothing. Half an hour, right? Ke Wen paced back and forth, muttering, no news is good news, right? It's going smoothly, right? He didn't know who he was talking to, or if he was just trying to convince himself. Jin Sichin hung up ZHU Kunjin's phone call, looking at the people in front of him. His heart sank. He always felt that something was going to happen, and just when he thought about it, his right eyelid jumped. The left eye twitched, the right eye. Jin Sichin was in a mess. He looked at the lights in the operating room and hesitated to take out Wu Yusen's phone. Wu Yusen was now outside searching for similar materials for 818, and the work was not urgent. Hello, Jin Sichin, what do you want to talk to me about? It was not until Wu Yusen's voice came from the receiver that Jin Sichin realized that he had dialed a phone. Ah, it's okay, just asking where you are hanging out. Jin Sichin was still a little hesitant about whether to tell Wu Yusen about Lin Fan's situation. If he told it, it seemed meaningless. If he didn't tell it, it was such a big thing. Wu Yusen was Lin Fan's guide. It's impossible to hang out. I'm a little far from you, but I'm not very busy. Wu Yusen laughed. You kid called me for nothing. It's not normal. Tell me, what's the matter? At this time, the lights in the operating room went out. Jin Sichin didn't care about the phone and rushed forward. Almost everyone came over. Even Gao Fei was pushed to the front by GU. Doctor, how is it? How is Lin Fan? Did the operation go well? Why did I hear Lin Fan's name? Wu Yusen's face changed. What happened? Jin Sichin? Unfortunately, Jin Sichin's mind was not on him at all. The doctor slowly took off his mask, and the heavy pain on his face made it difficult for everyone to accept. Hello, Jin Sichin. Talk. Wu Yusen couldn't hear the sound and yelled into the phone. At this time, he heard a strange voice coming from the phone. I'm sorry, Comrade Lin Fan. The rescue is ineffective. He is gone. Ah, everyone, please don't hit me. Don't hit me. If possible, can you please vote? Chapter 206 Breaking In. Song Ren's legs went limp, and he staggered violently. He was helped by the people behind him to stand steady. Kuang Li silently withdrew his hand. He felt Song Ren's body trembling slightly, but it was not visible on his face. Seeing Song Ren standing straight and upright with a face as pale as water, Kuang Li turned his eyes away. Impossible. Li Chunhua shouted. I'm sorry, we have tried our best. The minister didn't know how many times he had said such a thing, but this time, looking at the group of people in front of him, especially Cui Yan's cold eyes at the front, and thinking of the people involved behind Lin Fan, his apology was very heartfelt. Impossible. Impossible. You are lying. Li Chunhua couldn't accept the reality. He felt that Lin Fan's blood was still on his hands. How could Lin Fan be gone? His eyes were red, and he didn't even know that tears were flowing. The veins on his neck were bulging, and he yelled at the minister. Seeing that he seemed to be crazy, the minister subconsciously took a step back and made way for the operating room. Li Chunhua pushed him away and rushed inside. When they were waiting outside, they already knew that Lin Fan was the only one being rescued in the operating room. Hey, you can't go in. The minister slammed heavily on the door panel and shouted at Li Chunhua, who was running wildly in the operating room. I'm sorry, minister, I'll go get him back. Song Ren quickly apologized to the minister and rushed in. Hey. The minister watched Li Chunhua wave away the people who tried to stop him one by one. It was not right to stop another person from running in, and it was not right not to stop him. After a moment of distraction, a white-haired man rushed in again. GU, you go. Gao Fei couldn't move in the wheelchair, so he could only call GU to go in and help him. Minister, just let them go in and see them off. Dr. Zhao was crying and was supported by Wu Yi, who was crying so hard. He walked to the front and said, they are all Lin Fan's teammates and have a special relationship with her. Lin Fan alone. I'm afraid she will. Just let them go and see her off. The minister wanted to say something, but Cui Yan spoke. I apologize on their behalf, but I know their tempers. They can't accept the reality for a while. It'll be fine when they see it with their own eyes. The minister thought about who Lin Fan's wound was for, and finally gave him face. Anyway, there was no one else in the operating room, so they could see it if they wanted. Seeing the minister make way for the door, GU rushed in quickly. Kuang Li and Kawenbin also rushed in. Gao Fei was in a wheelchair, feeling grief-stricken, but he still stared at the direction of the operating room, waiting for the unknown good or bad news inside. When Lee Chun-hua found Lin Fan, the doctors in the operating room had not left yet. Although the person was gone, the wound still had to be sutured. The hero couldn't be left in such a tattered state, so several doctors sewed it very carefully. However, the anesthesia and monitoring had been withdrawn, so Lee Chun-hua didn't hear the electronic sound representing the heartbeat. His face turned pale immediately. "Who are you? How did you get in?" The roar of the patrol startled the doctor who was suturing. Everyone turned around and saw Lee Chun-hua, who was covered in blood and looked dazed. "It's her companion." The emergency doctor recognized Lee Chun-hua and spoke to comfort everyone. "I'm sorry, I'll take him away now." Song Ren arrived and reached out to pull Lee Chun-hua. No, this is not Lin Fan." Lee Chun-hua slipped free and ran to the operating table. Lin Fan's body was covered with a large piece of green cloth, with only her head exposed. Because of excessive blood loss, her originally fair skin was as white as paper under the illumination of the shadowless lamp. She closed her eyes and had a tube in her mouth, causing her face to be deformed and unrecognizable at first glance. Lee Chun-hua ran to her head and looked carefully at the pale face in front of him. It was Lin Fan. Big tears fell instantly. He trembled with his hands and stretched them out as if he wanted to touch Lin Fan's face, but found that his hands were covered with bright red blood. Thinking of Lin Fan's cleanliness, if her face was dirty, she would definitely be unhappy. The medical staff had retreated to the side to watch for fear of accidents. They watched the man who came in first stretch out his bloody hands and then retract them, and finally covered his face and cried. Lee Chun-hua considered herself a tough guy, and she never knew that she would cry like this one day. If they had gone up to help immediately and not left Lin Fan alone to fight the enemy, would she not have been stabbed? Tears quickly wet her palms, and the dried blood turned into liquid again, staining Lee Chun-hua's face like blood and tears. People who saw this scene couldn't help but sigh. "Okay, Lee Chun-hua." Song Ren walked over and trembled to hold him. "Lin Fan, don't let her leave uneasy." Lee Chun-hua didn't want to leave. Song Ren pulled her, and while pulling, Lee Chun-hua suddenly found something wrong. "Wait." He stopped struggling, pointed at Lin Fan's hand and shouted, "Why didn't you put her hand on 818? Song Ren looked closely and saw that Lin Fan's arm naturally hung down from the operating table and did not touch the 818 next to it. Everyone was in a panic just now, and no one noticed this. Lee Chun-hua rushed forward and grabbed Lin Fan's hand, pressing it tightly on 818. "Didn't I tell you to put her hand on it and not let go?" Jin Sichin stood by the door of the operating room and confirmed Lin Fan's condition at a glance. He had a huge resistance in his heart and didn't dare to approach until he heard Lee Chun-hua's questioning, and he was furious. "Let it go, let it go." The emergency doctor replied hurriedly, "Really let it go. It's true, I did it myself." The circulating nurse also said, "Maybe it was because of the emergency treatment just now, multiple electric shocks, and the large range of motion, so the hand slipped down." The chief surgeon explained, "We were in a hurry to rescue at the time, and we really didn't pay attention to this aspect." After declaring death, they found a strange thing in the operating room, and the emergency doctor explained it to them. No one took it seriously, but they didn't expect the other party to care so much. Not to mention whether this thing is useful. Even if it is really useful, the person's heart has stopped beating for so long. Now put it on. Can it still be useful? A group of doctors retreated to the corner again. These guys are tall and strong, and they seem to be reasonable, but if they become unreasonable, they can't resist. It's not that I don't want to run, but the door is blocked by them. Look, here come 3 more. Gu, Kuangli and Kawenbin came in and saw Lee Chun-hua holding Lin Fan's hand and pressing it on 818. Tears dripped down like money, slid down his hand to Lin Fan's cold hand, and then fell on 818. Lin Fan's hand was so cold, Lee Chun-hua burst into tears, and even her vision was unclear. She just wanted to press it hard and warm her hand with her palm. Song Ren sighed, stepped forward and pulled Lee Chun-hua. "Okay, you've made her hands dirty, she must be unhappy. Let her be unhappy, let her scold me." Lee Chun-ho's heart was getting heavier and heavier. It's not that he didn't know, the cold touch under his palm made him know better than anyone at Lin Fan. But he just didn't want to let go, as if as long as he tried hard enough Lin Fan would come back. Brother Lee. Ji-yu also stepped forward to persuade, let Sister Lin go in peace. Jin Sichin didn't say anything, but Kuang Lee came to 818 and asked the doctor, you put a hand on it, and there was no reaction at all? Yes, no reaction. Heart rate, blood pressure, no changes. We felt that this thing was useless, so we didn't pay attention to it later. The emergency doctor said. Impossible. Wenbin frowned as he watched the blood on Lee Chun-ho's hand dissolved by tears and flowed all over Lin Fan's hand and 818. It was clearly upgraded after touching it before. It's happening. Lee Chun-ho suddenly shouted with joy. Everyone looked over, and the surprised expression on his face, mixed with the tears that he hadn't had time to wipe away, looked very strange. Is he crazy? The doctor in the corner had a thump in his heart. What do you mean it's happening? Jin Sichin looked at the almost crazy smile on Lee Chun-ho's face and was also afraid that he had a mental problem. The heartbeat is happening. Lin Fan's heartbeat is happening again. He's alive, not dead. Hehehe. Chapter 207 Resurrection. Impossible. The doctor shouted. They declared the patient dead only after they confirmed that there was no hope of saving him. How could the heartbeat have stopped for so long? How could it be possible that it would start beating again after these people came in for a while? Everyone's first reaction was that Lee Chun-ho had a mental problem. Really? Come and see. Lee Chun-ho's crying and laughing appearance was indeed hard to convince people. Song Ren pressed his shoulder helplessly. Boss, feel it. It's real. Feel it. Please. Lee Chun-ho was about to cry again when she saw that no one believed her. She looked at Song Ren pleadingly. Song Ren didn't want to see Lee Chun-ho like this, so he reached out to touch Lin Fan's wrist artery in a soothing way. He wanted Lee Chun-ho to give up, but his hand shrank back as if he had been electrocuted. What's wrong? Jin Sichin's pupils shrank slightly. Song Ren didn't answer him, but put his hand on again, with a very serious expression. Jin Sichin thought of something, rushed to Lin Fan's head, and directly touched her carotid artery. There's a heartbeat. Doesn't she have a heartbeat? You told me she's dead. Jin Sichin yelled angrily. Is this another mistake? The doctors didn't dare to speak. It's true, there's a heartbeat. Song Ren also looked at the doctor. Kuang Lee also rushed forward. Ji-yu and Wenbin wanted to go forward, but there was no place to stand. There's really a pulse. Come and save her. Kuang Lee turned around and shouted to the doctors hiding in the corner. Only then did the doctors believe that things really had a reversal. After all, Kuang Lee was their colleague, and his words were still credible. The emergency doctor was the first to step forward and turned on the power of the monitor, and indeed heard a pleasant heartbeat. Although the doctors didn't know why, saving lives was the first priority, and they all stepped forward to continue the rescue. Lin Fan felt very cold, and she seemed to hear Lee Chun-ho's voice. She opened her eyes confusedly, only to see a bright, white light. She opened her eyes. The anesthesiologist was surprised to find out when he gave her oxygen. After everyone looked over, she closed her eyes tiredly again. Lin Fan, you have to hold on. We are all waiting for you. Lee Chun-ho shouted. My daughter is still waiting to call you godmother. You have to hold on. Okay, you guys hurry out. The emergency doctor relied on his experience with several people to persuade the operation must be sterile. Knowing that Lin Fan could be saved, everyone breathed a sigh of relief and was very happy. Lee Chun-ho repeatedly told Lin Fan to keep his hand on 818 and never leave. When the nurse stepped forward and prepared to disinfect Lin Fan's hand, she was stopped by Jin Sichin. Don't wipe it. It may not have worked before because there was no blood. It's possible. Ji-yu also nodded. There was no blood before, so it didn't work. Now the blood on Brother Lee's hand has dissolved in her hand again and established a link with 818, so the channel is established again. Sister Lin has a heartbeat now. When the doctors saw them say this, although they felt that it had nothing to do with this thing, they couldn't give any other reasons. Moreover, seeing someone come back to life with their own eyes, it was difficult to say anything, so they easily accepted the request. The circulating nurse took the tape and tied Lin Fan's hand to 818. This way it won't slip off. I'll be watching it this time. There's no chance that her hand will leave this thing. Don't worry. The emergency doctor patted his chest and assured. Okay, let's go quickly. Kuang Li urged. We were not disinfected. If we stay any longer, her wound may get infected. Li Chunhua was the first to jump out when he heard it, and the others quickly followed. The operating room was finally quiet. All the medical staff breathed a sigh of relief. Without external interference, they could finally show their strength and concentrate on saving people. But while sewing, the doctors found something wrong. Is the wound healing on its own? The chief surgeon was surprised. They had sutured a lot of ruptured muscles and blood vessels before, and now, the wounds in these sutured places are slowly disappearing on their own. The surgeon looked carefully under the microscope, and it was indeed healing itself. Everyone looked at the grey thing connected to Lin Fan's hand at the same time. Hey, has that thing become smaller? The surgeon asked with narrowed eyes. The emergency doctor and the circulating nurse hurried to see. Has it become smaller? I can't tell. The surgeon's eyes were like a ruler, and he was sure that the thing was definitely not as big as before. Looking at the victim's internal organs that were still healing on their own, he ordered the emergency doctor. That thing may really provide energy and will become smaller at the same time. Watch her hand and don't let it go. Since the matter is no longer scientific, let's use unscientific methods. The surgeon now really believes that the thing saved Lin Fan. Director, the sutures were spit out. The doctor next to him exclaimed. The surgeon hurried over. Sure enough, at the healed wound, the sutures that were originally connected and broken were withdrawn from the muscle little by little. Is this rejecting something outside the body? The director saw this situation for the first time. Take out the thread, don't leave it inside her body, the director ordered. In this case, leaving the thread inside the body is no better than leaving the gauze inside. How is the wound that has not been sutured? I can't feel any obvious activity, and there is no sign of self-healing. The director thought for a while, and put the two broken pieces together. Then, visible to the naked eye, the tissue that was just divided into two pieces was connected together. The pink seam line could still be vaguely seen. No need to sew it. The doctor next to him was overjoyed. That saves a lot of trouble. Okay, get to work. After the director confirmed that this was feasible, he continued to order. There are a lot of broken pieces inside her, and it will take a lot of effort to put them together. I don't know if there are any defects. Let's deal with what can be dealt with first. The bleeding has also decreased. It's really strange. Would ordinary people be like this? A doctor asked curiously. This is not a question you should think about now. Get to work. The chief surgeon urged in a deep voice. He knew that something was wrong, but as doctors, their biggest task was to save lives, and other problems were not as important as saving lives. Order was restored in the operating room. As Lin Fan's body healed more and more, the emergency doctor found that 818 gradually shrank until the skin in front and behind completely healed, leaving only a deep red mark, proving that there had been an injury here. And 818 also completely disappeared, absorbed by Lin Fan. What should we do now? Someone asked the chief surgeon. Usually, after the operation, they have a good idea of how the patient is doing. How could it be like this? They seemed to have done everything, all kinds of splicing and alignment, but it seemed that they did nothing, and the patient healed on his own. So what is the situation now? Is it healed? Or is there still a problem? No one knows. No matter how experienced the chief surgeon is, he has never experienced such a thing. After thinking about it, he decided to take an X-ray first to see if the internal organs have healed. Hang up glucose and anti-inflammatory water for her, just in case. The chief surgeon ordered. Also let her breathe oxygen. Don't withdraw it yet. After confirming that nothing was missed, a group of people pushed Lin Fan out of the operating room. People outside the operating room saw Lin Fan coming out and crowded around him. The surgeon explained the situation to everyone, including the automatic healing during the operation, and that 818 had been absorbed. Dr. Zio and others knew that the surgeon must be very tired, so they volunteered to push Lin Fan to the X-ray machine, and a group of people followed the cart. After Cui Yan said goodbye to the director of the medical department, he followed the group. After walking a few steps, he found that Jin Sichin was still at the door of the operating room. He had his back to everyone and was thanking the director and other doctors. The other party kept saying that you are welcome, but Jin Sichin insisted, as if to express his sincerity, and even took off his sunglasses. The people in the operating room seemed to be really moved by his sincerity, and they all smiled and nodded. Cui Yan knew that Jin Sichin had a secret in his eyes, and he had been covering them with sunglasses. But he didn't know what the secret was. He turned around and wanted to go to Jin Sichin's side. Chief Cui Kuang Li shouted while pressing the door open button and the elevator. We are going down. Do you want to come with us? Everyone already knew that Cui Yan had received an order from the big boss to stay by Lin Fan's side. When Cui Yan looked back again, Jin Sichin had already put on his glasses. That's all. Seeing this, Cui Yan gave up the idea of exploring and turned around to chase Lin Fan. Do you know what Jin Sichin is doing? It's obvious, right? I saw a message from a deer this morning saying that I didn't dare to write the protagonist to death. So angry. The content you are seeing now was written by me 10 days ago. In fact, if it weren't for a few dears who have been silently supporting me, you wouldn't be able to see the chapter this morning. I really thought about ending it by writing it to death. There are still those who want to add more. Well, I saw it, but I can't add it. I'm writing the New Year's Day content today. Wish me good condition. Otherwise, there will be a gap the day after tomorrow. Of course, the number of words can be whatever you want, but I want to write it well and not fool you dears. Wish me a blessing. Chapter 208 Questions. Lin Fan had an X-ray, and nothing happened to her. If everyone hadn't seen her being stabbed through by the green armored man, they would have suspected that they had collectively misremembered it. But no matter what, it's good that she's fine. Because her vital signs were stable, Lin Fan was pulled out of the medical department that night and entered the ward prepared for her on the 4th floor of the office building. Jin Sichin was watching over her bedside like an eyeball. Dr. Zio and Wu Yi also got rid of their emotional interference and took care of her professionally. Song Ren and Lee Chun-ho wanted to stay with her, but were driven back by Dr. Zio. They had already fought with the green armored man, so it goes without saying that they were tired. Later, they stayed at the operation until midnight until Lin Fan came out. The driving suits of these two people were stained with a lot of blood, which looked quite scary. Before, Lin Fan was an emergency treatment, but no one cared about it. Now that she is out of danger, the blood is splashing, which makes people think of her miserable condition at that time, which is annoying, no matter how you look at it. Dr. Zio asked the two to go back and change clothes and rest first, so that they would have the energy to replace Jin Sichin and Gu tomorrow. Gu was still guarding Gao Fei in the medical department. Although Gao Fei's fracture was not fatal, it was not light. He waited until Lin Fan came out and confirmed that he was fine before he went to treat him. It may not be fixed yet. Even if it is fixed, they must stay in the ward for a few days. Gu will definitely not be able to leave tonight. Song Ren and Lee Chun-ho obeyed Dr. Zio's arrangements. They were indeed exhausted this day, and their emotions were ups and downs. They were really tired. Seeing that Lin Fan was fine, Wenbin hurried back to the laboratory to tell everyone the good news and left the medical department directly without coming. Kuang Li was there. Dr. Zio arranged for him and Wu Yi to rest first. They were all people who had been guarding for a whole day, and no one was better than the other. After dawn, Lin Fan had to take samples for testing, and these two were busy. And now, the experienced Dr. Zio was guarding Lin Fan first. After everyone left, the ward was empty. Lin Fan lay quietly, and his condition was very stable. Dr. Zio is old after all, and she gradually became a little sleepy. Suddenly, Jin Sichin called her, waking her up. What's the matter, Dr. Jin? She quickly looked at the monitor, and after finding that everything was normal, she breathed a sigh of relief. Can you still see the film just taken on your computer? Jin Sichin asked. I can see it. What's wrong? Dr. Zio was stunned for a moment, a little puzzled. When the film came out, everyone saw it at the scene. Lin Fan's liver was intact, his other organs were not damaged, and his bones were normal. This is why Lin Fan was pulled back to take care of him as soon as he came out of the operating room. Apart from the marks on the skin and the memories in their minds, there is no factual evidence to prove that Lin Fan was injured. Oh, of course, there is a video. Jin Sichin suddenly asked about the film at this time. Did he notice something wrong? No, Jin Sichin should not be able to understand the film. He is a psychologist and does not know how to read films. Dr. Zio turned countless messages in his mind and then heard the other side say again. I wonder if you have noticed that the needle-like object in Lin Fan's skull is still there? In order to prevent damage to other organs, Lin Fan took a full body x-ray. Everyone focused their attention on the liver and then spread their attention to other places. Only Jin Sichin noticed that something was missing from Lin Fan's head. Dr. Zio stood up suddenly. Yes, there is a needle-like object in Lin Fan's head, and they have always suspected that it is a part of 818. At the beginning, because it was impossible to open Lin Fan's head and the needle-like object did not threaten her safety, it had not been dealt with. Everyone was used to the existence of that thing, and no longer took it seriously. And today's film, she seemed. Indeed, she didn't see it. Dr. Zio rushed out of the ward quickly and went to her office to look at the film. Jin Sichin sighed and took his hand out of his pocket. 2 black earrings and a ruby earring were lying quietly in his palm. They were the treasures given by Mr. Kyan and Xingqian's transformation device. This was the last thing he left, and when he was talking to the medical staff in the operating room, a nurse handed it to him, saying that she found it next to Lin Fan's head. Jin Sichin didn't know how strong the transformation device was, but the 2 black earrings were refined by Kyan Leo himself on Lin Fan's earlobes. Unless Kyan Leo made a move again, or Lin Fan's earlobes were torn, and the earrings fell off naturally, it would be impossible for them to fall off. And now, they have all fallen off. It's gone. Dr. Zio rushed in and was shocked when she saw what Jin Sichin was holding. Isn't this? She looked at Lin Fan's smooth earlobes, and the ear holes were fine, without any injuries. The doctor who performed the operation before said that when Lin Fan's body heals itself, it will reject all foreign objects that do not belong to her body. Jin Sichin said, maybe these are also foreign objects, and they were automatically expelled. Dr. Zio didn't know what to say for a while. She saw too many things in Lin Fan that changed her worldview. She thought she had been able to accept it well, but when the time came, she found that her mind didn't seem to be as open as she thought. The 818 sample in the transformation device is gone too. Jin Sichin flipped the ruby, revealing the empty groove on the back. It should have been absorbed together. Yes, the needle-like object in her skull is gone. Was it also absorbed? Dr. Zio then remembered what she was going to say. The entire 818 was absorbed, and it was normal for these 2 small pieces to be absorbed. Now, except for the coating of 818 on the 4 bionic armors, there is nothing else left. But the needle-like object did not disappear when Lin Fan upgraded last time. Why did it disappear this time? Dr. Zio wondered. And at the beginning, Lin Fan's hand on 818 was ineffective, and it was only after it was stained with blood that it worked. Jin Sichin didn't understand it either. Is it because of Lin Fan's state? What state? Last time she upgraded, Lin Fan was in good condition, healthy and conscious, so as long as she put her hand on it, the energy of 818 could directly enter her body. Jin Sichin speculated. Dr. Zio listened and nodded in agreement. This time, Lin Fan was too weak, so even if we put our hands directly on it, we couldn't establish a channel. Jin Sichin continued, but why can blood help? I remember that the first time Lin Fan came into contact with 818 was when she jumped into the river. Dr. Zio also analyzed, she was suicidal at that time, which was equivalent to having no self-consciousness. Then her head hit 818 and broke, bleeding, and that's when Xingqian came into contact with her by chance. You mean, Lin Fan was also unconscious this time, so she needed blood to open the link channel? Jin Sichin thought about it and felt that it made sense. In this case, it is possible that, because she was healthy and had enough energy before, she didn't need to absorb so much. Jin Sichin deduced. This time the injury was too severe, and 818 absorbed all of it to make up for her missing parts, along with the tiny transformation device and the needle-like object. Yes, this makes sense. Dr. Zio nodded in agreement. But, Jin Sichin looked at the sleeping Lin Fan and hesitated. After his heart stopped beating for so long and then recovered, Lin Fan, who absorbed almost all of 818 and has the ability to heal himself after waking up, is he still the same Lin Fan? Is he? Do you think Lin Fan is still Lin Fan after waking up? Chapter 209, Defense. Because of the specificity of Xingqian, everyone actually has alien theories in their hearts, but because there is no factual basis, they cannot speak out. But everyone in 623 knows that Xingqian's situation is most likely in the category of alien technology. Lin Fan's resurrection this time is certainly gratifying. But after she absorbed all the 818, she gained strange self-healing abilities and rejection abilities. These are no longer possessed by normal people. So, is the Lin Fan they are familiar with still there? Will Lin Fan after waking up become another person? Are you afraid that too much 818 will affect Lin Fan after fusion? Dr. Zio asked. No, I'm afraid that Lin Fan is no longer there, Jin Sichin said solemnly. After all, her heartbeat has stopped for a long time. If Lin Fan is no longer there at that time, and Xingqian has independent consciousness. Dr. Zio never thought of such a result. If Lin Fan is not Lin Fan, and Xingqian becomes uncontrollable again, what should we do? She couldn't help but lift Lin Fan's bedsheet to expose the wound. Below the ribs, the dark purple circular mark is more like a subcutaneous bruise. The skin was smooth, without any bumps. Who could have imagined that there was a big hole here during the day? The internal organs, that were originally severely shattered, were also intact on the film. How fortunate Dr. Zio was originally. Now he felt how weird it was. What should we do? Dr. Zio frowned and asked, should we report it? Your director is not stupid. Jin Sichin put the earring back into his pocket. If I'm not mistaken, he won't let anyone else in until Lin Fan wakes up and confirms that there is no problem. Dr. Zio was stunned. No, didn't Captain Song and the others just leave? Well, then just treat it as my petty mind. Jin Sichin smiled with relief. Don't worry too much. After all, these are all my random guesses. Or maybe I'm overthinking and nothing happened. After hearing this, how could Dr. Zio not care? No matter how tired he was, he didn't fall asleep. He kept his eyes open and kept watch with Jin Sichin until dawn. Until Wu Yi came to replace the shift. Kuang Li also came to take the biochemical sample, but the person who was supposed to replace Jin Sichin had not arrived yet. It was already bright outside, which shouldn't happen. Dr. Zio's heart skipped a beat. Could it be that what Jin Sichin said was right? When Song Ren couldn't get into the office door, he knew something was wrong. The access control worked in other places, but he couldn't get in here. It was possible that someone had ordered to restrict their access rights. He ran to the director's office and found Cui Yan, who had not slept all night, to question him. Cui Yan guessed the same as Jin Sichin and had doubts about Lin Fan's condition. So safety comes first. You should wait until she wakes up before going in. Cui Yan, who had been up all night, looked even colder. He went to finish the confidential matter for the doctors last night, but a group of doctors opened their eyes and didn't know anything about him. What? The patient came back to life. Don't be ridiculous. Director Cui, did you have hallucinations because you worked too long? It was our doctors who worked hard to save the patient's life. Cui Yan was almost unable to hold back his cold face when he was looked at by a group of doctors with inexplicable eyes. Thinking about Jin Sichin's last words and deeds, he must have done something. That's right. The Special Affairs Office was more nervous about Lin Fan's secret than he was. After that, he immediately reported the situation to the senior leader and arranged to eliminate the impact of this incident on other irrelevant people. After all the busy work, it was already dawn. As soon as he sat down, Song Ren came to him aggressively. Song Ren knew who Cui Yan was, but after all this operation, he still felt it was hard to accept. But it didn't matter whether he accepted it or not. Cui Yan just needed his obedience. You have to know that if Xingqian has problems, you, as the highest combat force, can't lose them. Gao Fei is still lying in the medical department and can't move, so you three should pay more attention. Is it hard to understand? Song Ren clenched his fists. Cui Yan's consideration was right, except that he didn't consider their feelings. But then again, would Cui Yan consider other people's emotions? It's a joke. What about Dr. Zhao and the others? If Lin Fan has a problem, Dr. Zhao and the other two, as well as Jin Sichin are all in there. Isn't it also very dangerous? Song Ren asked. Cui Yan raised his eyelids and looked at Song Ren steadily. For a moment, Song Ren seemed to see his sneer. If something unfortunate happens to them, I will sincerely apologize to the medical department and the special affairs office. Song Ren didn't know how he got out. He stood outside the office building, looking at the sun in the sky that was covered by clouds, and didn't know what to do for a moment. Boss, what should I do? Lee Chun-hua also had a bitter face. He knew how terrible Cui Yan was, and he didn't dare to resist at all, but he was worried about Lin Fan. He was quite happy when he came, but now he was full of sorrow. Let's go see Gao Fei first. Song Ren had no choice, or you can pray more. Let the gods and Buddhas in the sky bless Lin Fan to wake up early. He was just talking casually, but he didn't expect Lee Chun-hua to immediately put his hands together and started muttering. Song Ren quickly pressed his hand. Don't do this in a scientific research institution. You'd better be careful of being reported by the security department. This is not allowed. That is not allowed. Lee Chun-hua shook his hand depressedly and suddenly saw the communicator in his hand. Boss, monitoring. Song Ren frowned. Just take a look. Just a look. I'll turn it off if it's okay. Okay. Lee Chun-hua begged. No. Song Ren flatly refused. He actually hesitated for a moment. I had no choice before. Now don't think about it anymore. Be careful that Lin Fan jumps up and hits you. Lee Chun-hua sighed. I think she will jump up and hit me now. Shaking her head, she left with Song Ren dejectedly. 3 days passed in a flash. Others can't get in, but the people inside can go out. Jin Sichin definitely can't go out. Dr. Zhao was a little scared, but looking at Lin Fan lying quietly on the bed, thin and fragile, he couldn't bear to leave. And nothing happened now. Wait until something really happens. Let's talk about it. Wu Yi didn't leave either. She cried the most when Lin Fan was injured. After more than a year of getting along, she has regarded Lin Fan as her closest friend, and it is absolutely impossible for her to leave at this time. And Lin Fan also needs professional care. Dr. Zhao is old. Jin Sichin and Kuang Li are both men. After all, it is not as convenient as her to take care of them. Originally, Kuang Li didn't care whether to leave or not. But since he made a new discovery in the biochemical specimen, he became the person who was most willing to stay. Look, the cell activity is increasing. Kuang Li excitedly showed everyone the report in his hand. What does this mean? Jin Sichin walked over and took a look. He didn't know much about this, so he asked directly, does it mean that she can recover faster? You can say that. Kuang Li nodded. Human cell function will affect metabolism and then affect the body's immune function. Simply put, the better the cell activity, the healthier the person. Lin Fan's cell activity has increased significantly compared to before. Kuang Li pointed to the data and showed it to Jin Sichin. She had a small increase when she transformed last time, but then it fell back and basically stabilized with no changes. Jin Sichin compared several sets of data. Although he couldn't understand it, he could still see the increase in the data. This time the activity increased by a very large span. I think this is the underlying factor for her self-healing. Kuang Li was very excited. He had been studying Lin Fan's specimen for more than a year, and it was not easy to find an unconventional value. It was something he had been looking forward to for a long time. So increased activity is a good thing, right? Jin Sichin asked uncertainly. Yes. Healthy cells will be generated faster, and damaged cells will be repaired faster. This is the most ideal state. Kuang Li was rarely willing to speak, and was about to continue, when he heard Wu Yi shouting beside the bed. Lin Fan is awake. Ah, the year is over, and Lin Fan is awake too. My dear children, Happy New Year. I wish you all health, happiness, success in everything you do, and great fortune in the new year. Heart. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 210, Lee Chun-Hua's Heartache. How dark can a person's eyes be? This thought suddenly emerged in Jin Sichin's mind. Lin Fan's eyes were dark and lifeless when she opened them. That black was like a deep pool that could squeeze out ink, or like a black hole that could absorb everything. The deep color seemed to be able to suck people in, as if a little bit of it would make them indulge in her pupils. There was no light, only endless black. I don't know if it was an illusion, but there was a vague feeling of expansion at the edge. Jin Sichin grabbed Wu Yi, who was about to press the bedside bell, and pushed her towards Kuangli. Wu Yi still had a happy expression on her face, but she was suddenly thrown away. Before she could open her mouth, she was dragged to the door by Kuangli again. She quickly realized everyone's previous concerns about Lin Fan, and quietly followed him out. After the two of them went out, they considerately left the door open for Jin Sichin. Lin Fan. Jin Sichin called softly. This sound seemed to break the spell. Ripples appeared in the dark pool, and the color gradually spread out, turning into dark and light black, and there was light in the eyeballs. After another blink of the eyes, it finally became a familiar appearance. Jin Sichin secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Lin Fan was still there. Lin Fan felt her eyes were sore, and slowly moved her eyeballs. In the corner of her vision, she saw a tuft of white hair. It was Jin Sichin. Why was he so far away? It was tiring. She closed her eyes and rested, and heard footsteps getting closer. Lin Fan, are you okay? Jin Sichin walked forward a few steps. How do you feel? Lin Fan hummed in her throat and couldn't speak, so she had to open her eyes again. Through the squinting eyes that she hadn't seen for a long time, that familiar expression, Jin Sichin finally confirmed that it was Lin Fan. He quickly moistened Lin Fan's mouth with some water, and repeatedly confirmed that her consciousness was stable and there was no problem, and then called Dr. Zhao and others to come in for a check. Soon, the news that Lin Fan had regained consciousness spread. 623 was full of cheers. As Lin Fan regained consciousness, Cui Yan's restraining order was naturally lifted. After Lee Chun-Hua got the news, she ran away from Gao Fei's ward without even saying hello to anyone else. My sister is finally awake. Brother Lee doesn't have to worry anymore, Gao Fei said with a smile. Lee Chun-Hua couldn't visit the patient these days, and was so anxious that he scratched his head. Even a video call with Jin Sichin couldn't solve his anxiety, so he kept wandering around Gao Fei's ward. Gao Fei was also worried and injured, and he was also very anxious because of him. Now that Lee Chun-Hua ran away, he actually felt relieved. You guys should go too. I'm fine by myself. It's okay. It won't take a while. Jiu cut the apple in his hand into small pieces, put a toothpick on it, and handed it to Gao Fei. Go. If I can move, I'll go too. It's always easier to see it with my own eyes. Gao Fei knew that Lin Fan had woken up, and his mood became cheerful, and he ate the apple in big mouthfuls. Song Ren saw that everything was in order here, and there was indeed no problem. After telling the nurse, he left with Jiu. Arriving at Lin Fan's ward, before entering, he heard Lee Chun-Hua's voice. I said it's impossible, Lin Fan is still alive. You save him. Pushing the door open, Lee Chun-Hua was reenacting the scene to the person on the bed with great emotion and dancing. Dr. Zhao and the others were not there. Jin Sichin fell on the sofa and saw them come in without even raising his head. He had been accompanying him for several days in a row and hardly slept. It was impossible not to be tired. Fortunately, everything was getting better. Lin Fan's face was still not good, only his eyeballs could move, and he could hum a few times. After all, he had suffered such a serious injury before. Although his current condition was not very good, he was still alive. After seeing Lin Fan, Song Ren came to Jin Sichin and said, "You've worked hard. Can you still get up? I'll take you back to rest." Jin Sichin was also familiar with Song Ren, and didn't pretend to be polite with him. No need, you guys stay with me, I can go back by myself. He said hello to Lin Fan, and Song Ren sent him out. Gu stayed for a while, and found Lin Fan's tiredness. He quickly said goodbye, and went back to the medical department. When Song Ren came back, after sending Jin Sichin, Lin Fan fell asleep again. Lee Chun-ho was quietly guarding by the bed, which was in sharp contrast to her previous chatterbox. That's great, boss. Song Ren sat down quietly, and heard Lee Chun-ho lower her voice and say, I'm so glad that I went in that day. Song Ren knew what he was talking about. If Lee Chun-ho hadn't barged in that day, if Lee Chun-ho hadn't insisted, if his hands were not covered in blood and he hadn't returned to Lin Fan's hands, then the consequences might have been completely different. He had thought of it more than once, and was glad for the coincidence at that time. Lee Chun-ho, this guy, is a little silly at ordinary times, but he is still very useful at critical moments. Song Ren decided to be nicer to Lee Chun-ho in the future. When training him, he could be stricter, so that he could feel his heart. In the afternoon, Lin Fan was able to speak, and asked for food with a hoarse voice. Lee Chun-ho was so excited. The long-lost takeaway job came again. Song Ren called Dr. Zio. After a checkup, Dr. Zio said that, although Lin Fan looked normal, it was hard to say what state she had recovered to. After all, she had never been in this condition before. And her cell activation state is also unusual. Do you know? Song Ren shook his head, and Dr. Zio explained to him in detail. So what should be the situation now? Song Ren frowned slightly. According to her physical signs, there are no wounds or cracks, so she should have recovered, but she can't move. Dr. Zio pondered, and the state she showed is not much different from when she just had the operation. In other words, she just looks fine, but her body is still weak, right? Song Ren concluded. Then regardless of her healing state, take care of her, as if she had just had the operation. Dr. Zio nodded, and she was currently following this plan. After Lin Fan finished eating, she really recovered some strength, and was able to speak. She also asked about the others. The energy supplemented by food is much more real than glucose. After all, the food in the stomach will increase the real feeling of fullness and also produce spiritual comfort. Lee Chun-ho wanted to stay with him at night, and Song Ren did not argue with him. Since Lin Fan was awake, he did not need so many people to watch over him. One person was enough. He just asked Lee Chun-ho to pay attention and let Lin Fan rest more. After dinner, while Lin Fan was in good spirits, Lee Chun-ho chatted to her for a long time, and also talked about his little daughter. Have you chosen a name for your baby? Lin Fan suddenly remembered and asked. Lee Chun-ho's daughter had been born for half a year, and he had always heard her call her Tiger Girl, but had never heard of her full name. It's decided. Get up early. Lee Chun-ho smiled when she mentioned her daughter. Let's call her Lee Hujia. Hui for wisdom, Jia for beauty. Lee Hujia. Lin Fan repeated it softly in his mouth several times. Not bad. It sounds nice. The meaning is also good. Really? I think it's good too. Lee Chun-ho was even happier. I wonder what my little tiger girl will look like when she grows up. I hope she can be like you, brave and strong. Brave? Strong? Lin Fan was stunned. I don't know if it's a psychological effect, but the wound started to hurt again. Don't be like me. Lin Fan turned his face away gloomily. I'm not a good role model. Lee Chun-ho choked. If we leave Xingqian aside, Lin Fan's past is really nothing worth boasting about. But such a Lin Fan is a real good girl. Before Xingqian was controlled by Lin Fan, the first few transformations were all for saving people. Including this time, he was injured so badly to save people. How can such a Lin Fan not be a good role model? Looking at the back of Lin Fan's head, Lee Chun-ho still didn't speak. He turned off the light at the head of the bed and sat on the sofa so as not to disturb Lin Fan's rest. In the dim light, Lee Chun-ho looked at the motionless figure on the hospital bed and felt a little distressed in her heart. Oh, I haven't written for a long time, my hands are unfamiliar, and my feeling is gone. I revised this chapter 3 times. It looks coherent. I will keep working hard. Happy New Year, everyone. In the new year, good things will definitely happen. Muah. Chapter 211 The Fallen Patch. The wound on Lin Fan's stomach was getting lighter and lighter. It changed from purple to light pink. Her pain was gradually not so intense, and she could walk out of bed without help. The activity in the cells was still increasing. Kuang Li reported this discovery internally to 623 and applied for a new biochemical experiment team. But unfortunately, in addition to the obvious cell activity, the biochemical team did not find anything extra in Lin Fan's biological samples. So Kuang Li and his team are jealous every day now, and they can't wait to get in with the microscope. Li Chunhe accompanied Lin Fan for dinner and gossiped with her. I thought so. Kuang Li has been looking at me as if he wants to peel off a layer of skin from me recently. Lin Fan ate with big mouthfuls. It turns out it's not an illusion. Lin Fan found several times that Kuang Li looked at her with burning eyes, and when she looked over, he quickly avoided her. She thought Kuang Li was just like that, but it turns out he wasn't. Is it because he feels guilty? No. Li Chunhe shook her head and nodded. But did they find it or not? If you say they found it, it's almost there. If you say they didn't, they actually found it. Eat quickly. Song Ren cleaned up the finished plate and saw Li Chunhe still chatting with Lin Fan in the ward, so he couldn't help but urge her. Li Chunhe's neck shrank and she stopped talking. Lin Fan laughed and felt a pain in his stomach. Seeing Song Ren looking at him, he quickly pretended that nothing was wrong and chewed with a serious face. Before Song Ren turned his head away, he heard Lin Fan scream, "Ah! What's wrong?" Li Chunhe stood up with a frightened face holding the lunchbox. Lin Fan frowned, opened his mouth and spit out a mouthful of rice. "I bit a stone. Impossible." Song Ren approached. "It's impossible for the cafeteria to make such a low-level mistake. Huh? Isn't it normal to bite a stone while eating?" Lin Fan blinked and looked at Li Chunhe. "It's not strange to see anything in the food in the cafeteria, right? It's impossible for a cafeteria of 800 people." Li Chunhe also put down her plate and looked over. "Those guys in the cafeteria want to use a microscope to wash rice and vegetables, let alone stones. You can't even get a grain of sand." "Boss, what is it?" Song Ren had already used a tissue to push away the rice and found a black hard object. "What is this?" Li Chunhe frowned. "Is it really a stone?" Song Ren wiped it with a tissue. It was a black object with a diameter of about 2 millimeters, and the shape was not very regular. It was not transparent, and it would deform if you squeezed it hard. "It looks a bit like silver." Song Ren hesitated. "What? Silver? Black?" Li Chunhe was stunned. "Silver will turn black after oxidation." Song Ren was not surprised, but why did it appear in the rice? Could it be that the chefs in the cafeteria were really careless? Did Lin Fan just happen to catch up? "We can't ignore this." Li Chunhe wiped the communicator and prepared to complain to the cafeteria. "If you accidentally eat this, will it be okay?" That. Lin Fan was thoughtful when she heard Song Ren mention silver. Seeing that Li Chunhe was about to complain, she quickly raised her hand to stop him. "This may be the material I used to fill my teeth." Seeing that the two looked over, she quickly explained, "I filled a tooth in my early years, and I used silver." "Did it just fall off?" "It's possible." Song Ren nodded. "Where did you fill it? Open your mouth and let me see if it's still there." "The third one from the top right. I remember it was a pointy one. I can see a black dot in the mirror." After Lin Fan finished speaking, she opened her mouth and tilted her head back. When she saw Song Ren's handsome face approaching from the corner of her eye and looking into her mouth seriously, she suddenly felt a little socially dead. What kind of death angle is this? Why did she let the handsome guy see her bloody mouth? She just finished her meal and hasn't rinsed her mouth yet. "I can't see the black spot you mentioned, but there is a small hole the size of a sesame seed on her tooth." Song Ren didn't care what Lin Fan was thinking at all and looked at her teeth carefully. "Ah." Lin Fan shut up and sucked a mouthful of saliva. "So it fell off?" "It's possible, but I'm not sure. And it feels like such a small hole. The size doesn't match the silver." Song Ren put away the fallen silver particles. "To confirm it, we have to find a dentist." Lin Fan was about to say no, it's not a big deal, and it doesn't hurt. Then he saw Li Chunhe running out, and soon he heard his loud voice. "Dr. Ziro, can you treat teeth?" "Okay, let's treat teeth." After knowing the whole story, Dr. Ziro took a flashlight and shone it. I'm not good at dentistry, but I can apply for a dentist to come for consultation. No need. Lin Fan took the opportunity to refuse. It's not a toothache. I don't feel anything, so don't bother to find a dentist. Dr. Ziro shook his head. It's better to take a look. You probably don't know what happened to you. What? Lin Fan was puzzled. She looked at Dr. Ziro, then at Song Ren and Lee Chun-hua. Is there anything I don't know? Your body now has a super strong self-healing ability. You know it? Dr. Ziro asked. I know. Didn't you say that I absorbed 818 and evolved again? She knew this shortly after she woke up. At first, she didn't feel anything, but when she saw that there was no wound on her stomach, she felt very surprised. But after all, this is a good thing. Better than a hole in the stomach with blood. Then do you know that in addition to the self-healing ability, you also have the ability to reject foreign bodies? Dr. Ziro didn't tell Lin Fan about this, and she didn't know if anyone else had told him. Rejection? What is it? Sure enough, Lin Fan showed a puzzled expression. It means that your body will reject things outside the body during the repair process. Dr. Ziro said, didn't you notice? Your earrings have disappeared a long time ago. Lin Fan subconsciously touched her earlobe, and sure enough, she didn't touch anything. Earrings are light and small, so she usually doesn't care about them at all. The same goes for the transformer. If she doesn't touch it, she won't notice whether it is on the ear or not. In addition, she hasn't looked in the mirror recently, so naturally she wouldn't notice that the earrings have disappeared a long time ago. How could it be? The earrings that Elder Khan gave me won't fall off. Lin Fan remembered that Elder Khan said how strong the treasures he refined with his own hands were. During the operation, your body's rejection reaction squeezed the earrings out. Song Ren said, Jin Sichin guessed so, and we think the guess is reasonable. But, what does that have to do with teeth? Lin Fan was puzzled. We all thought that the rejection reaction was over after the operation was completed. Dr. Ziro said, but if your filling material is not falling off naturally, but is a result of rejection, then it proves your body is still rejecting it. Lee Chun-hua clasped his hands and shouted, startling everyone. Song Ren glanced at him unhappily and continued to say to Lin Fan, so the purpose of Dr. Ziro asking the dentist to come here should be to confirm this guess. Yes. Let the dentist come and see if the material has fallen off naturally, whether the filling is still there, or whether it has shrunk and recovered. Dr. Ziro nodded. Wounds will heal, and will cavities heal too? It is said that enamel and dentin are different from bones and muscles, and have no recovery ability. Lin Fan looked at the serious Dr. Ziro and blinked. It's just a filling. Is it that serious? Silver fillings are really strong. I had a silver filling 20 years ago, which only cost 20 yuan. The resin has fallen off several times, but the silver one has not fallen off. Chapter 212 Kuang Li's research subject. Anyone who has seen a dentist knows how scary dentists are. Facts have proved that no matter how gentle or skilled a dentist is, he or she can still make people feel tingling. When Lin Fan lay on the dental chair with her mouth wide open, the sound of the electric drill instantly reminded her of the long hidden pain. Even if she was as hard as a star, she couldn't stop trembling in her heart. Fortunately, after the dentist carefully examined her mouth with a hand drill for a long time, he announced that she had no cavities. No, she had cavities before, and she had a filling, but it fell off at noon. Lee Chun-hua leaned over and said. Song Ren handed over the silver-wrapped paper towel. This seems to be the filling that fell off her. The dentist took it and looked at it carefully. It is a real silver filling, but few dentists use this material now. Everyone uses resin materials, which are more beautiful. It is also more expensive. Lin Fan complained in his heart. But, where did this thing fall out? There is not even a filling. The dentist was confused. It's on her upper right tooth, the third from the bottom. Song Ren showed the dentist the way, but in the end he found that the sesame-sized hole he had just seen at noon was gone. Ah, this is. The teeth also repaired themselves. Song Ren didn't say anything. Your teeth are pretty good, no cavities, and not worn out much. Keep it up. The dentist took another careful look, and indeed found no problems, so he encouraged. Dr. Ziro greeted everyone with a smile, and sent the dentist out. Well, this is confirmed. Lin Fan's cell activity is so strong that even teeth can regenerate. Since that day, Lin Fan felt that Kuang Li's eyes were looking at him more passionately. His eyes were always focused on his mouth. It seemed that he wanted to pull out a tooth to prove how strong her tooth regeneration ability was. But he could only think about it secretly. Song Ren and the others usually guarded Lin Fan, and he couldn't even pull out a hair, let alone a tooth. As long as he dared to take action and stretched out his hand, it would definitely be Kuang Li's mouth full of teeth that would fall out first. Lin Fan definitely can't move, but there are always people who can move. As for Lin Fan, after the initial surprise period, she soon got used to eating Mama Ziyang. She even accepted that she could transform into a Mecha calmly. It was just a self-healing tooth, no big deal. Seeing many strange things, it is not surprising anymore. Hey, now that I don't have the transformation device, can I still transform? Lin Fan was pushed by Song Ren to the terrace of the lounge to bask in the sun. It was a rare good weather, and Gao Fei was also pushed over by Ji Yu in a wheelchair. Lee Chun-ho even moved out the coffee table and put out some food and drinks, making it like a tea party. If you don't look at the two people paralyzed in wheelchairs, the atmosphere is still good. Song Ren and the other two have been taking turns to accompany Lin Fan and Gao Fei recently, running between the office building and the medical department. They were actually injured, but not as seriously as the two wheelchair patients. So no training has been arranged recently, and a temporary rest is also necessary. Sister, do you have to be so dedicated? Gao Fei had one arm hanging, and because of a broken rib, he didn't dare to make big movements, so he could only turn his eyeballs to look at Lin Fan. But Ji Yu put sunglasses on him, so Lin Fan couldn't see the look at all. It was like looking at a blind man. It's not dedication. Lin Fan said lazily, you all know that the meaning of my existence is the stars, right? If I can't transform, and I'm served so well, I always feel uneasy. That's not it. Ji Yu handed Lin Fan a glass of juice. The stars are just a part of Sister Lin, not the whole meaning of your existence. Oh, you are still picking words with me, knowing what I mean. Everyone understands Lin Fan's worries. Don't be afraid. Lee Chun-ho fanned Lin Fan gently. Even if you can't transform, we can't throw you out. After all, you saved the big leader. Lin Fan's mind flashed back to the tragedy at the beginning. She swallowed her saliva and smiled to change the subject. But now there is no transformation device. How can I transform? Don't worry about it. Just take good care of it. Song Ren also told Lin Fan not to think too much. Besides, even if you can transform now, I won't let you. Without the restriction of the magic weapon of the Special Affairs Office, who dares to let you transform? I thought you didn't believe in the high technology of the Special Affairs Office. Lin Fan widened her eyes. She saw it clearly before. When introducing Kan Leo's earrings, these 800 people were dismissive. You didn't believe it before. Isn't it this time that I saw how powerful your Special Affairs Office is? Lee Chun-ho said excitedly. Thousands of kilometers away, you accurately pinned down someone we couldn't handle. Lin Fan was speechless. No matter how he talked, he couldn't avoid it. Song Ren noticed that Lin Fan's face was not good and guessed that she wanted to avoid something. He took the initiative to change the subject. When you were unconscious before, Wu Yusen came, did you know? Ah. Lin Fan's attention was indeed attracted. Why did he come? When you were in the operating room, Jin Sichin called him. Song Ren said, he came over pass after knowing that you were in trouble. But he didn't let him in. At that time, Lin Fan's situation was special, and there were restrictions on people entering and leaving. This time, Wu Yusen didn't even get in from the guard. After Jin Sichin knew about it, he asked Song Ren to bring the two black earrings to Wu Yusen. After knowing that Lin Fan was out of danger, Wu Yusen didn't stay for long and took the things and left. Ah, Jin Sichin didn't tell me. Lin Fan smacked his lips. Speaking of John Woo, I haven't seen him for a long time. I don't know how he is doing. Is it because he came to deliver 818 last time that I haven't seen him? Lee Chun-ho also missed John Woo a little. I heard that he has been looking for 818 analogs outside, but there has been no good news. Song Ren had a brief chat with John Woo last time and knew more than others. It's not easy to find. Gayo Feli said with a smile. It's not much better than looking for a needle in a haystack. He and Gu had heard of John Woo. They said that they had a good relationship with Lin Fan in the past, but they didn't know much about him. They only heard about this person from Lee Chun-ho's stories. So, John Woo will be here again soon. Lin Fan thought that he would see an acquaintance soon, and he couldn't help but feel happy. Soon. Lee Chun-ho was also happy. John Woo is coming, and he must tell a new wave of stories. His curiosity has been waiting for a long time. Let's not talk about their happiness for now. In the 623 laboratory, after Kuang Li finished his work, he nodded and said goodbye to his colleagues in the experimental group. After leaving the 623 door, he walked out alone on the conveyor belt. At an intersection that no one noticed, he turned onto another road. After turning several times in a row, he walked to a place where no one noticed and pressed open an inconspicuous door. Come on. A cold voice sounded from the door. Director CUI. Kuang Li called politely, not surprised at CUI Yan's presence. Any new discoveries? CUI Yan stood in front of the huge glass tank and asked without turning his head. Kuang Li walked in with a smile and pressed the door closing button next to it. The grey iron door slowly closed. Through the crack in the door, you can see a few strands of golden hair floating in the transparent glass tank. Congratulations to CUI Yan for making his dream come true. Chapter 213 Nightmare. It was a dark night, and the stars were not bright. A figure was walking through the villa area. Soon, he turned into a small path. At the end of the path was a circular flower bed with many unknown flowers. Under the dim street lights, they were quietly blooming. There were 3 small houses around the flower bed. The people inside seemed to have fallen asleep and did not notice that there were visitors at this time. The shadow walked around the flower bed and approached the innermost wooden house. The owner of the wooden house did not seem to have locked the door, and he pushed the door lightly and it opened. The scattered playing cards on the round table had not been put away, and there were a few cans of Coke and a few packs of snacks next to it. The shadow walked in slowly, making subtle footsteps on the wooden floor. The bedroom door was not closed, and he easily saw the person lying on the bed. Wrapped in a thin quilt with a small orchid, he was sleeping soundly. The shadow walked closer step by step, slowly bent down, and came to the woman who was dreaming about something, and said softly, "Bitch." A whisper-like voice exploded in Lin Fan's mind. She was instantly pulled out of her dream. When she opened her eyes, she saw a pair of orange eyes right next to her face. "It's a bastard." Lin Fan's heart tightened, and she subconsciously activated the star defense. There was a loud bang. Lin Fan was lying on the broken remains of the bed, gasping for breath, while holding his wound. This time he was really awake. "What's going on?" Lee Chun-ho's voice came. He and Song Ren heard the noise and came in from the balcony. When they turned on the light, they saw Lin Fan lying on the ground. Not lying on the ground. He was still lying on the bed. It's just that the bed fell apart. There was a knock on the door. It was Jin Sichin. "What's going on? Open the door." Gu, who had just climbed in from the balcony, saw that the crisis was resolved and Lin Fan seemed to be fine, so he hurried to open the door. Song Ren picked up Lin Fan and put him on the sofa gently. Lee Chun-ho obediently went to pour water. "Come, take a deep breath." Jin Sichin came in and saw Lin Fan's pale face and rapid breathing. He didn't bother to ask and hurried to help her adjust. Gu took the opportunity to check the bedroom carefully again and came out to shake his head to Song Ren, indicating that he found nothing. Lin Fan also recovered at this time, took Lee Chun-ho's water and drank a sip. "It's okay, it must be a nightmare." "Nightmare?" Lee Chun-ho asked curiously, holding the water cup. "I thought your house was bombed. When you were in the ward, you slept very well. How come you had a nightmare just after you came back?" Today is the first day that Lin Fan came back. Because there is no problem with the wound outside, the person can get out of bed and walk normally, and the spirit is not bad. There is no need to stay in the ward, so Dr. Zhao directly let Lin Fan come back to rest. The group of people were quite happy. In the evening, after having dinner with Lin Fan, in order to celebrate her successful discharge from the hospital and to make it lively, Lee Chun-ho also suggested that a few people play a few landlords. Unexpectedly, it was not even a few hours later, and there was such a big noise. Lin Fan opened her mouth, but in the end she said nothing. Seeing that her hand was constantly pressing the wound under her ribs, Song Ren asked, "Does the wound hurt again?" Lin Fan's wound had always hurt, but if there was no strenuous activity, it rarely hurt to the point where she needed to cover it. It hurt quite a bit for a while, as if it had been torn. Lin Fan also felt something was wrong. "You guys turn your backs to me, I'll lift it up and take a look." Although she was familiar with it, she didn't think she was that relaxed about lifting her clothes in front of several grown men. When they turned around, she quickly lifted the hem of her clothes and saw that the place that had originally turned light pink had turned dark purple again. Hiss. Lin Fan couldn't help but say, "This color." Remembering that they were still carrying her back, she quickly covered it with a quilt, leaving only the wound part exposed. "Look, the color has changed again." The others were also surprised when they saw the color. "This purple looks like when you just got off the operating table." Jin Sichin frowned. "Did you tear the wound just now?" Lin Fan shrugged to indicate that he didn't know. "Maybe, I don't know." "What kind of nightmare did you have just now? How come even the bed collapsed?" Song Ren felt that he still had to find out the cause and effect. Lin Fan hesitated for a moment, but still spoke. "What? You dreamed that the bastard came to kill you?" Lee Chun-Hua's voice broke. "What happened next?" Jin Sichin asked. "Then I turned into Xingchen and fought with him." Lin Fan said. "Then I woke up. You guys came." So it's possible that Lin Fan transformed in his dream? Ji Yu leaned against the door, looking at the scratched bed and the sharp marks left on the floor and guessed. "Really?" Lin Fan was a little confused. "Can I transform in a dream?" She has always relied on manually touching the transformer to change states. A few days ago, she was still thinking about how to transform without the transformer. How come she can suddenly transform in a dream? Song Ren also entered the room to confirm the marks. "It is a mark of being split by a sharp object. Theoretically, it looks like it was left when she transformed. According to the time calculation, this transformation time is very short, maybe just a moment, and then it changed back. But because you were lying on the bed, the Mecha broke the bed when it came out. The sound of the bed hitting the ground woke you up. Of course, it also woke us up, so when we came over, we saw you lying on the ground." Song Ren speculated. "I didn't feel anything anyway, but I just felt it hurt suddenly." Lin Fan looked at his wound and said, "It should be that she hasn't recovered yet, and the sudden transformation has affected the wound again." Ji Yu said, "Sister Lin is now well integrated with the stars, so it is normal that she doesn't feel anything special when she transforms. But the star state requires a lot of energy, and this time it has been upgraded again, so it's still unknown what the situation is. But now the transformation is obviously a burden on Sister Lin's body, so the wound is stretched again in an invisible place." Everyone thought it was very reasonable and nodded in unison. "You must not transform recently," Jin Sichin said. "According to Jiu's speculation, the energy consumed by the upgraded star must be greater than before. Look at your wound. If it backfires, I don't know what the consequences will be. Anyway, you will definitely not be able to live well." Lin Fan nodded repeatedly. As a star who is afraid of pain, she doesn't want to suffer all the time. This house can't be lived in for the time being. Lee Chun-Hua looked at the scratches on the floor and curled her lips. "I'll find someone to deal with it in the morning. Replace the floor, and then replace the bed and other things." Lin Fan nodded. She was quite embarrassed. She lived in someone else's place and damaged their house. "Then now, stay at my place first," Jin Sichin suggested. "Your injury has come back again. I can't just let you lie on the sofa for a night." Lin Fan wanted to refuse, but she saw the scattered poker cards on the table and thought of the dream just now. It was still dark outside, and she didn't know what time it was. She wanted to say that there was nothing wrong with sleeping on the sofa, but to be honest, she was still a little scared and didn't dare to stay in the house alone. But if she had to sleep in Jin Sichin's room, what if she accidentally transformed again in the middle of the night? Should she split Jin Sichin's bed again? Lin Fan was in a dilemma. "How about this? Lin Fan will sleep on the sofa first. I'll stay here with her. It's almost dawn anyway." Song Ren saw her hesitation and proposed a solution. She never had a nightmare in the ward before, so it doesn't make sense for her to have a nightmare as soon as she comes back. I feel that Lin Fan needs someone to accompany her in the short term. Song Ren said to Jin Sichun meaningfully. Jin Sichun knew what he wanted to say and nodded readily. So Lin Fan's sleeping schedule was quickly confirmed. She didn't even have a chance to interrupt. Okay. It's not like she hasn't accompanied her before. Besides, she's at this age, and there are handsome guys taking turns to sleep with her. What else is there to be dissatisfied with? Lin Fan smacked his lips and said that people should know how to be content. Compared to such a trivial matter as sleeping with her, the inability to control the transformation during sleep is what really worries her. I also want a handsome guy to sleep with me, so I'll schedule some shifts for them and enjoy the pleasure of not having to go to court early. Chapter 214 Fear. Lin Fan curled up in the sofa wrapped in a quilt. She tried to close her eyes and rest, but for some reason, she always thought of the face of the green Mecha. She sneaked out from under the quilt and carefully looked at Song Ren, who was sitting on the single sofa. She felt a little relieved. What's wrong? Song Ren noticed her scrutiny and asked. No. I said goodnight to you. Lin Fan covered it up with a smile and shrank back into the quilt without saying a word. Lin Fan, hiding in the quilt, did not see Song Ren's inquiring eyes behind her. She was uneasy and confused. She held on until dawn and finally fell asleep. But when she felt someone approaching, she jumped up suddenly. It's me. Song Ren hurriedly stopped her, grabbed her with both hands, and caught her steadily. He didn't forget that Lin Fan's wound had just been bandaged last night. If he was tossed like this a few more times, it would be a miracle if it could heal. Lin Fan didn't say it herself, and Song Ren couldn't expose her, so he went to find Jin Sichun privately. Do you think I don't know? Jin Sichun said unhappily. It's just that Lin Fan is avoiding this problem. I can't just tear it apart for her and let her face the pain, right? Although this is also a solution, it is definitely not a good solution at the moment. Then what should we do? Song Ren frowned. Let her deceive herself like this? Until when? Wait a little longer. Jin Sichun said. It will be soon. Her psychological activities were so strong last night. Xingchen has made her emotional peak soon. You want to intervene when she is most afraid? Song Ren didn't understand. What's the benefit of reaching the peak of her emotions? It's not a benefit, it's to let her ask for help herself. Jin Sichun said. She is always used to handling everything by herself. When she encounters a situation, she will never think of asking others for help. I just take this opportunity to force her. You. Song Ren didn't expect Jin Sichun's purpose. Her current fear is nothing more than 2 points. One is the fear of being injured when she was defeated at the beginning, and the fear of facing a strong man. Jin Sichun had already analyzed Lin Fan thoroughly and only needed an opportunity to intervene. And the other one, the fear of killing. Song Ren continued. Yeah, you have experience in this. You understand it better than me. It's not that easy to deal with. Jin Sichun crossed his legs. Lin Fan couldn't even save a stray dog from dying. This time he killed a person with his own hands. Jin Sichun didn't say anything later. Song Ren also knew that it was very difficult to eliminate such negative emotions. Not to mention Lin Fan. Even Li Chunhe, who was the most worried, had nightmares for several days after returning. It was not until Lin Fan woke up and diverted his attention that the matter was over. Although Gu didn't say anything, Song Ren found a lot of his browsing history in the computer, information about eliminating psychological shadows. And Lin Fan, as the person who did it, the emotional impact was certainly incomparable to others. Song Ren has been observing her since she woke up, and he felt strange when he saw that she was fine, thinking that he had worried for nothing. But he didn't expect that she hid it so deeply, and it took so long to explode. But it's always good to explode. It's more troublesome to hold it in your heart. Song Ren chose to believe in Jin Sichun's professionalism and didn't continue to question it. He went back and took Lin Fan to see Dr. Zhao for another checkup to make sure that the internal organs were still intact. Seeing that Lin Fan, who had walked out yesterday, was pushed back again and the wound had turned purple, Dr. Zhao reluctantly gave the advice of rest. What else could she do? She didn't know how to deal with such a situation. It would be right to rest, right? Li Chunhe and Gu took the opportunity to bring people to replace the damaged floor and furniture. From that day on, Lin Fan slept in the inner room, and there was always someone accompanying him on the sofa. But I don't know if some strange switch was turned on. Lin Fan began to have nightmares every day. I dreamed of a green Mecha mask, a pair of orange eyes floating everywhere, and a face with blonde hair that I couldn't remember what it looked like. Lin Fan woke up from nightmares several times, feeling blood and people everywhere. Gradually, she didn't dare to turn off the lights to sleep. Later, even if the person accompanying her sat by the bed, she couldn't fall asleep. The fear in her heart gradually accumulated, and her mental state was extremely bad. Jin Sichin wanted to wait for Lin Fan to ask for help, but she didn't wait any longer. Or maybe he couldn't stand it anymore, and went to do psychological counseling. But just as Jin Sichin expected, Lin Fan's fear was mixed with many other things, and psychological counseling alone couldn't resolve it so quickly. She didn't have a strong enough heart yet. If it was someone else, Jin Sichin wouldn't be afraid, and she could just hypnotize her. But who is Lin Fan? She is a woman that Jin Sichin can't hypnotize, so this trick doesn't work at all. There's no other way. Everyone can only accompany her patiently, and try not to let Lin Fan be alone, which would increase her fear. Gradually, everyone squeezed into Lin Fan's room, and when they went to bed at night, Ji Yu and Lee Chun-ho would sleep on the floor next to Lin Fan's bed. The days were a bit like when they were traveling during the new year, and everyone slept on the big bunk and chatted. With the intervention of many methods, Lin Fan gradually relaxed his mentality. After more than half a month of cultivation, he finally got away from the nightmare. Of course, after such a long period of recuperation, the wound returned to its pink state. The weather gradually became cooler, and autumn was coming. Lin Fan, who was in good condition, walked all the way to the cafeteria to find food, and ran into Jiang Yu and others who had not seen him for a long time. Lin Fan, how are you? Jiang Yu had not seen Lin Fan since the inspection, so he knew that something must have happened. But after several inquiries, they could not find out anything at all. I only heard from the people who watched the live broadcast at that time that the white Mecha was injured, and it was quite serious. Others did not know, but Jiang Yu and others knew that the white Mecha was Lin Fan. They felt bad at the time. In addition, they did not meet Song Ren and others later, so they felt that the problem was even bigger. Anxious, but did not know what to do. A group of people who were stimulated by the green Mecha, on the contrary, inspired fighting spirit. Whether it was researchers or drivers, as long as people who had seen the scene at the time, they worked hard and wanted to improve their technology again and again. If you fall behind, you will be beaten. This sentence will never be wrong. Because of this incident, the overall research atmosphere of 800 is very good, and the research progress has been further improved. Cui Yan was the most satisfied. Lin Fan seemed to be fine, and the overall development of science and technology was also accelerated. If there was anything better, well, it was that he got a new research subject. In short, Jiang Yu didn't know Lin Fan's recent situation until he accidentally met Lee Chun-ho getting food. Everyone was relieved to know that she was fine. Today, we finally saw the real person, and she was safe and sound. She walked into the cafeteria by herself, and everyone was very happy. Everyone greeted each other, and even many people who usually treated her sarcastically came forward to show concern. No one knew that she had died. Lee Chun-ho smiled and watched Lin Fan, flattered to accept everyone's greetings, and sighed in her heart, it's good to be alive. Lin Fan is afraid, but she hides it. Normal people will not be able to bear this kind of thing, no matter what the reason, right? This takes a process. Chapter 215, The Unspoken Secret. After the last turmoil, Xingchen has become known to many people. Lin Fan's identity as Xingchen's driver has also been officially certified. Many people watched the whole process of Xingchen saving people from the live broadcast. When she was nailed to the wall, I don't know how many people were gnashing their teeth in hatred below. Later, a group of people killed the green armored man. Although they didn't do it so beautifully, how many people cheered for them with their hands swollen. Unfortunately, the live video was cut off after confirming the death of the green armored man, and no one knows the follow-up situation. But everyone who saw Xingchen's miserable state at that time had a bad intuition. Now more than a month has passed, and Lin Fan is standing in front of everyone again. No matter what attitude people had towards her before, they can't say a word of bad to her now. Just kidding. If this is not a hero, what is it? A mouth cannon hero? The nickname Miss has finally changed from a sarcastic and derogatory name to a positive and slightly playful nickname. Lin Fan didn't care. She didn't care what it meant anyway. She just felt that being so popular was tiring. She never knew that so many people were waiting to meet her. She was so thirsty just by greeting people that she wanted to run away when she saw people. With this interruption, the little emotion she had left for the green armored man was squeezed out. Jin Sichin finally breathed a sigh of relief. No matter how bad Lin Fan was, he felt that his golden signboard was in danger. They tried their best to forget, but some people would not give up easily. Many people in the 800 senior management knew the secret of Lin Fan's identity. Because of the appearance of the green armored man, Lin Fan's secret was no longer necessary to be covered up on a certain level. The hostile forces have already hit the door. What's the point of covering up your own side? The so-called knowing yourself and knowing the enemy, the same principle applies in reverse. Since the two people who belong to the same biological armor cannot find enough information about the green armored man, the same can be done by reversing the information on Xingqian. A small branch was established within the 623 project team to systematically study the relevant situation of Lin Fan. But just as everyone expected, they did what they should do, but nothing could be found. Lin Fan's identity was quietly circulated among the senior management as a key information person who warned the relevant agencies about the green armored man crisis. In places she didn't know, the name Lin Fan was already very well known. Fortunately, those who could reach the top were not fools. They knew how to hide and protect, and would not be foolish enough to do bad things. After all, no one knew whether there were other biological armors besides the green armored man. But Xingqian must be protected as a secret weapon, and she must not be allowed to waver in her position. Many people found out that Lin Fan belonged to the Special Affairs Office, and they called ZHU Kunjin to contact him. ZHU Kunjin smiled and sent the person away, and then asked the finance department to give Lin Fan a salary increase. Damn it, he praised the person like his own child without even meeting him. Humph, don't think he can't see that they are all old foxes who want to snatch people. Bah. Lin Fan naturally didn't know what happened outside. After she felt that her body had recovered well, she strolled to the laboratory again. Compared to her, Gao Fei, whose arm was still hanging around his neck, looked less cool. As the saying goes, it takes 100 days to heal a broken bone. As a normal person, Gao Fei is still far from being able to get out of the plaster. Song Ren and his friends had already started to resume exercise a few days ago. Only Gao Fei, a patient, accompanied Lin Fan, an idler, to stroll around. Fortunately, Lin Fan is now very prestigious in the base, and is not afraid of encountering any danger. It is enough for Gao Fei to follow him. What do you say if you encounter a green armored man again? If you are really that unlucky, then really, it is useless for anyone to accompany you. Lin Fan went to the laboratory for Gao Fei. Yu Feng was beaten badly at that time, and the exterior of the Mecha was greatly damaged, and many places were deformed. Otherwise, how could Gao Fei have multiple fractures? Now that he can move, he is always thinking about whether his Yu Feng has been repaired. Lin Fan took a look and thought, let's go and see. What are you worried about? The two of them went there in a hurry. As soon as he entered the laboratory, Lin Fan received a thunderous welcome. It was completely different from the warm greetings from strangers a few days ago. Of course, the understanding and concern of the staff inside 623 for Lin Fan are different from those of the outsiders. When Lin Fan suffered, many grown men cried and burst into tears. Now that the hero has returned, they didn't pick her up and throw her into the sky, all because they were concerned about her physical discomfort. Lin Fan. Wu Yi saw Lin Fan in the laboratory today and ran over happily. She looked Lin Fan up and down and said with a smile, "You've lost weight." "Really?" Lin Fan smiled and waved to the others and walked to Wu Yi. "I've been feeling hungry lately and I can't eat much." "Have you lost weight? Then your energy needs must have increased after the upgrade." Wu Yi said seriously, "Does your wound still hurt?" Lin Fan's wound really couldn't be examined to find anything. so Wu Yi hadn't seen her for a long time after she left the ward. The little girl was quite worried. Normally it doesn't hurt, but if you move around a lot, you can still feel something hanging inside. Lin Fan shook his head and said, if it weren't for this, Song Ren would have caught me to practice with him. He told me that I was too frustrated before, and he wanted to teach me well. Wu Yi laughed, and the people who heard it laughed too. At that time, Xingqian and the green armored man were hugging each other and rolling on the ground. It was indeed a big bruise. Then you are miserable. Wu Yi thought of the bruises all over Lin Fan's body before. Captain Song wants to teach you well. How can there be any good place on your body? That's what we said too. Gao Fei interrupted from the side, but Yu said that may not be the case because Lin Fan's self-healing ability is amazing now. Maybe the bruises will disappear by themselves before we even notice it. Wu Yi stopped suddenly, stared at Lin Fan with wide eyes for a long time, and thought of the pink wound. He sympathized with her in a way that was hard to describe. Then you are even more miserable. Ah. Lin Fan shook his head and sighed. So you said to me, this ability doesn't seem to be a good thing. Isn't this asking for trouble? I can't even find a trace when I turn around, and I got beaten for nothing. Ha 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 ha. Wu Yi and Gao Fei were amused by her shaking her head and not caring. Then you have to eat more. Maybe one day you can knock Captain Song down, and then he won't be able to abuse you. Wu Yi said happily. Yeah, then I'll listen to you. Try to eat more and knock Song Ren down as soon as possible. Lin Fan likes to see Wu Yi laugh. The little girl's face is round and cheerful when she laughs, which makes people happy to see. Gao Fei lagged behind and shook his head as he listened to the conversation between the two. It is not easy to knock down the big devil Song Ren. Only young girls with naive ideas can say such things. Wu Yi walked with Lin Fan for a while and then left. Lin Fan accompanied Gao Fei to see Yufeng. A month and a half later, Yufeng had been repaired and was as bright as a new one. Gao Fei went up and down, walked around carefully for several times, and touched the brand new shell of Yufeng with heartache, as if touching his little lover. Lin Fan felt that it was a bit hot to the eyes, and looked around to look at other places. But accidentally, she saw something that surprised her very much. A dark green spear was placed upright in a transparent glass cabinet. Lin Fan took a few steps to the front of the cabinet to take a closer look. It was more than 2 meters long, pointed at the top and wide at the bottom, forming a cone. Some black bloodstains could be vaguely seen on the tip of the gun. Isn't this the weapon of the green armored man? How did it get here? Ah, I suddenly saw a lot of short videos of Liu Yuning these 2 days. Well, the boy smiled, and I think he fits the image of my John Woo. It's just a little taller and a little thinner. Well, from then on, John Woo had a face. Chapter 216 Weapons Recycling. Lin Fan, why are you here? Zhang Zhaoji heard that she had arrived, so he stopped what he was doing and ran out to greet her. How did this thing get here? Lin Fan felt uncomfortable when she saw the spear. If she was not mistaken, the black bloodstains on it should still be hers, right? Why didn't she wipe it off? It's creepy. Oh, this. Zhang Zhaoji was scratching his head and was about to explain when Ke Wenbin arrived. This has been kept here since the incident, and no one has touched it. Ke Wenbin was relieved when he saw that Lin Fan looked okay. They, the elders, knew that Lin Fan had a grudge against killing the green armor man. I just heard that she was almost well, but I didn't expect her to come to the laboratory suddenly today, and the weapon was seen when she was not prepared. I mean, this thing didn't disappear. Lin Fan thought about it carefully. After the green armor man degenerated into a human, it seemed that his weapon was still in his hand and did not disappear with it. The situation was urgent at the time, and I didn't care about this problem. Now when I think about it, it feels very strange. That's not right. Wasn't this weapon with the Mecha? The Mecha disappeared, but why is the weapon still there? Lin Fan suddenly thought of something she didn't understand and looked at Ke Wenbin in confusion. This? Actually, we don't understand it either. Ke Wenbin said helplessly, but we suspect that it might be because of your blood on it, so the weapon is still there when the main Mecha disappears. Lin Fan looked back and saw a lot of blood stains on it. It was black and green and looked very dirty. so we didn't even dare to wipe it, for fear that, if we wiped it clean, it would disappear. Zhang Zhaoji added. It can't always be left like this. Gao Fei came over at some point. No, Zhang Zhaoji waved his hand. We are going to melt this and make a weapon for Xingqian. What? Lin Fan opened her eyes wide. Her first reaction was to refuse. This thing pierced her, and then she pierced its original owner through it. Regardless of whether it was auspicious or not, she must have felt uncomfortable. And this color doesn't match. But she knew very well that it was not her decision. If it really came to a decision, her wishes would not be important. Look, I told you that Lin Fan was unhappy. Ke Wenbin could probably understand Lin Fan's psychology a little bit and comforted her. Don't worry, this is just a preliminary idea. It's still in the conceptual stage, and we have to wait until we see Xingqian's upgraded body before we can say anything specific. After all, we can't just leave this thing here to look at, right? Yeah, don't worry. Zhang Zhaoji also said. We just thought that this thing should be made from the same material as 818. Now that 818 is gone, and other materials have not been found, we thought it shouldn't be wasted. We have to use it. We thought that after Xingqian's evolution this time, he might have his own weapon system, so he might not be able to use this. Ke Wenbin said with a smile. If that's the case, this thing will be added to the bionic armor. For us to use? Gao Fei did not go directly to the anti-killing scene, and his emotions about this gun were not as strong as others. Well, you suffered this time because you didn't have a suitable weapon, so you could only passively take the beating. If you had a weapon of the same strength, even if it was a little weaker, it wouldn't be so difficult to fight. Ke Wenbin said seriously. Gao Fei nodded. The bionic armor has a good surface hardness because of the addition of 818 coating, but it does not have a powerful striking weapon. The guns made before are fine for ordinary situations, but if you encounter a biological armor like Xingqian, it is useless. And everyone has seen the power of this spear. If it can really be used as a weapon for bionic armor, then their attack ability will be greatly increased. From a strength point of view, it is a good thing. Come on, let's sit down and talk. Don't stand here. Ke Wenbin saw that Lin Fan was not in a good mood. He didn't know whether she was affected by the weapon or her body was not fully recovered, so he asked them to leave. In the conference room, they saw Zhajing again. He was buried in the computer and didn't know what he was busy with. Seeing Lin Fan walk in, he was very surprised. After a brief greeting, he sat next to him, typing on the keyboard and chatting with Lin Fan. I heard that John Woo has been looking for similar materials to 818, but has he not found any results? Lin Fan asked Ke Wenbin. It can't be said that there has been no results. He actually found 2 minerals and sent them over, but neither of them is 818. Ke Wenbin poured water for Lin Fan and Gao Fei and sat down next to them. But although it is not 818, it is also a rare mineral and can be used. Used in bionic armor? Gao Fei asked. Yes, it is used in the 2nd generation. The shell of the 2nd generation now uses a new mineral material sent by John Woo. The hardness is much higher than similar metals. Of course, it can't be compared with 818. Ke Wenbin shook his head. In fact, we don't know if we can find similar materials to 818. But this attack has given us hope again. Zhang Zhaoji interrupted. I hope John Woo can find it sooner. Lin Fan sighed softly. She understood the truth, but she also knew that this matter was not that easy. Poor John Woo. By the way, you don't seem to be in a hurry to see my upgrade this time. Lin Fan felt very strange. She remembered that during the last upgrade, although no one said anything, their attitudes showed some expectation. How come everyone seemed to be fine this time, and no one was anxious? On the contrary, she herself did not change her body to verify, as if she was always uncomfortable. Don't be anxious. Zhajing looked up from the computer. We all knew before that you changed your body in your dream and tightened the wound again. He shook his head. We don't want to repeat the scene in the operating room again. Of course, we will wait until you are fully recovered. Anyway, you won't run away. Besides, didn't your earring fall off? Zhang Zhaoji added. This time, Kine Leodo is very powerful. We all saw it. The things he gave you must be useful. It's safer to wait until you get them back before changing. Lin Fan's condition is almost semi-public within 623, so everyone knows, whether it is his physical condition or the location of the magic weapon. No one is a fool, and they will not do things that kill the goose that lays the golden eggs. And they really care more about Lin Fan's condition. After all, they have been together for more than a year, and people have feelings. There are not many people as cold-hearted as Cui Yan. Compared to the anxious confirmation of Xingqian's upgrade status, they care more about Lin Fan's health and the stability of the Mecha. Anyway, with Lin Fan's current self-healing ability, he can't wait long. People who do scientific research are the most patient. Several people talked and laughed again, until Jin Sichin called to find someone. Lin Fan pulled Gao Fei away. That night Lin Fan had another nightmare. She woke up with trembling hands. The cold touch of the dark green spear seemed to still be in her palm. She still remembered that she used all her strength to stab down, and the touch of passing through her body. Lin Fan covered her face and buried her head in her knees without moving for a long time. Poor Lin Fan, he can only overcome his psychological problems by himself. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 217 Test. Although Lin Fan didn't exercise with Song Ren and the others, they still kept the habit of eating together. She and Gao Fei often strolled around, and then met up with others at mealtime, and went to the cafeteria together. Li Chunhua couldn't stop chattering when she saw Lin Fan, complaining about how fierce Song Ren was, how introverted Ji was, and boasting about how great she was. Everyone was used to Li Chunhua's way of expression, and didn't find it noisy. It was like listening to a crosstalk, and it was quite fun. Lin Fan's appetite has increased a lot recently, but she is getting thinner and thinner. Song Ren looked at her carefully, and found that she didn't have any extra fat. The muscles in various parts of her body were tight and the lines were surprisingly smooth. It's a bit exaggerated to say that she has achieved the perfect curve of the human body, but she is indeed very beautiful. But there is nothing strange about Lin Fan. It's better to be not fat than to be fat. At least explosive muscles are easier to achieve training effects than loose pork belly. So, with Song Ren's tacit approval, Lin Fan took more and more food. One tray couldn't hold all of them. Several of them often helped her and Gao Fei, who had difficulty with his hands, to hold the tray. When there are too many things, it's easy to get messy. Just now, Li Chunhua didn't pay attention, and her hand shook, and a bottle of energy drink on the corner of the tray fell down. Hey, Li Chunhua shouted subconsciously. Unexpectedly, this sound attracted Lin Fan's attention. She glanced and reached out to catch it. For a moment, no one reacted. It really only took a moment for the things to fall down. Even Song Ren didn't react. Unexpectedly, Lin Fan caught it. Everyone stared at Lin Fan's white hand still holding the bottle of drink. Obviously, she didn't react either. Lin Fan herself was a little confused. Seeing the strange atmosphere, she hurriedly put the drink back on Li Chunhua's tray. Well, let's eat? How could Lin Fan react so quickly? Everyone's mind was filled with this question. They didn't care about anything else. They followed Lin Fan's advice and sat down to eat. This meal was unprecedentedly quiet. Li Chunhua, who was in charge of leading the atmosphere, was still immersed in her own thoughts, and the others were not much better. Some people wanted to say hello to Lin Fan when they saw him, but were discouraged by the silent atmosphere. Lin Fan was also disturbed by this strange atmosphere. Shouldn't she have caught the bottle just now and let it fall to the ground? After finishing the meal, everyone started to clean up the dishes. Lin Fan didn't care whether she was full or not, and happily cleaned up the dishes, wanting to leave this uncomfortable place as soon as possible. Just as they all stood up with their plates and walked out, Song Ren called out, "Lin Fan." The moment Lin Fan turned around, Song Ren threw the plate in his hand towards her, and the dishes and chopsticks on the plate all flew out. Lin Fan subconsciously freed one hand, grabbed the corner of the plate in the air, and quickly moved a few times, and all the dishes and chopsticks in the air were gathered in the plate, held by her, and sent to Song Ren. It was not until he saw Song Ren's eyes that Lin Fan realized what he had done. Silence spread in the air, and the atmosphere became even weirder. How could Lin Fan have such a quick reaction? Compared to the stunned Lee Chun-ho and Gao Fei, Ji-yu thought more. Lin Fan was also stunned. She. Song Ren took the plate handed over by Lin Fan, and handed it to Ji-yu. Ji-yu was stunned for a moment and took it. Lin Fan didn't understand what was going on, and saw Song Ren took his plate from her again, and handed it to the plate of Lee Chun-ho, who was still in a daze. What is Song Ren doing? Before Lin Fan could react, Song Ren turned his head, and stretched out his hand, to attack Lin Fan without saying a word. You can know how fast Song Ren is by thinking about the after image he left when he hit the sandbag. Lee Chun-ho screamed "Ah!" and saw Song Ren's hand was blocked by Lin Fan. People were confused. Could it be that Song Ren was giving in to Lin Fan? This thought appeared in the minds of the onlookers. Everyone knows that according to Lin Fan's strength and reaction, he can't be stronger than the big devil Song Ren. So, what is he doing? Only Song Ren knows that, although he has reduced his strength, his speed has not. In theory, it is impossible for Lin Fan to catch his attack. His eyes changed. Seeing Lin Fan looking at his hand in disbelief, he continued to attack. Although Lin Fan didn't understand, he instinctively blocked one by one. At this time, the people around him realized that Song Ren was not polite. The two of them went back and forth, and the speed was getting faster and faster. Even the people in the reserve team were a little overwhelmed. The two hands soon danced out after images. Compared to Song Ren, who was getting more and more skilled, Lin Fan was completely confused. She couldn't figure out what was going on. She just felt that Song Ren was getting faster and stronger. Catching his moves was completely an instinctive reaction of the body, or maybe there was a little bit of unwillingness to admit defeat in her heart. Seeing that Lin Fan could catch every move, Song Ren was more determined in his mind, and added a leg attack. Lin Fan still easily resolved it. So the young lady is so powerful? A reserve player who was watching for a while exclaimed. Yes, to be able to fight against the big devil, this is amazing. It turns out that we misunderstood the young lady. The young lady is capable. I think the young lady was injured before, so she was not in good condition. We laughed at her at the beginning, which was really wrong. There were all kinds of comments, all of which affirmed Lin Fan's ability. Compared with others who didn't know the inside story, Ji-yu, Lee Chun-ho, and Gao Fei simply refreshed their 3 views. Although Song Ren didn't use his full strength, the frequency and speed of such attacks were so high that they couldn't react, and Lin Fan was able to catch them all. No. What happened when they didn't know? Lee Chun-ho and Ji-yu couldn't help but look at Gao Fei. After all, Gao Fei and Lin Fan had been hanging out together during this period. I don't know anything. Gao Fei was also confused. Lin Fan was originally the weakest among them. How could he be so powerful now? In this way, Gao Fei, who was still recuperating from a fracture and couldn't exercise, naturally became the one at the bottom. Song Ren hadn't touched Lin Fan the whole time. He fought more and more seriously, and unconsciously began to increase his strength. As the strength increased, Lin Fan obviously felt the strain. But she had resisted for so long, and had some experience. She didn't want to give up easily, so she gritted her teeth and persisted. However, this intensity of confrontation was still a bit difficult for her. After more than 10 moves, Lin Fan felt the wound under her ribs begin to hurt. She frowned, and Song Ren noticed it, and suddenly thought of Lin Fan's injury. Just as she was about to stop, an arm stretched out from the side to block his hand, blocked in front of Lin Fan, exchanged a few moves with Song Ren, and pushed him away. John Woo? Song Ren stopped in surprise. Why are you here? John Woo is here. Oh, the hero saves the beauty. Chapter 218 John Woo's praise. Are you waiting for Lin Fan to be beaten to death? Jin Sichin walked over through the crowd and spoke bluntly. Song Ren touched his nose guiltily. I'm sorry, I was so distracted that I didn't notice Lin Fan's physical condition. Wu Yusen turned around and looked at Lin Fan with concern. How is it? Are you okay? Lin Fan covered his ribs and smiled when he saw Wu Yusen's face. It's okay, it just hurts a little bit. Wu Yusen was relieved to see that Lin Fan's smile was not forced. He carefully examined Lin Fan from head to toe. He frowned and said, "You've lost weight." Haha, why do you all say that? Lin Fan didn't dare to laugh. He had just moved too much, and it was not suitable for him to move his muscles again. A lot of people say you're thin. Wu Yusen smiled and frowned. That proves that you don't take good care of yourself. No, I eat a lot now. Lin Fan pointed to the tray stacked on Li Chunhua's tray and wanted to take it himself, but was rejected by Li Chunhua. Look, that pile of bowls, they're all my food. I'm eating a lot now. Wu Yusen glanced at it and nodded to Li Chunhua. What's the point of eating a lot if you don't gain weight? Hey, which woman wants to gain weight after eating? You don't understand women's hearts. Jin Sichin said speechlessly beside him. That's right. Lin Fan nodded. I'm happy when you say I'm thin, but it feels like there's nothing new when everyone says so. Wu Yusen laughed after listening. Not only thinner, but also younger, more beautiful. Ha, you straight man. It's rare for you to praise people like this. Jin Sichin laughed 3 times. I'm not praising people, I'm telling the truth. Wu Yusen laughed. Lin Fan didn't care whether it was true or not. She just listened happily. She hadn't seen Wu Yusen for a long time, and she was happy to see him. Let's go to the lounge, to sit for a while. Song Ren and others came over to greet a few people after delivering the rice bowls. The lounge has a large space, so it's more convenient to greet people. Although Lin Fan's room is also convenient, it is still a little smaller than the lounge. The lounge is fully equipped and is a good place for conversation, entertainment, or rest. And the point is that Dr. Zhao's office is right next to the lounge. Song Ren felt a little guilty about the pain in Lin Fan's wound just now. He was worried and wanted to ask Dr. Zhao to take another look. The guest follows the host's wishes. Seeing that Lin Fan did not object, Wu Yusen followed with a smile. It was not his first time here, so he walked more naturally. When they arrived at the lounge, Dr. Zhao already knew what had happened and was waiting. After checking that the color of the wound had not darkened, she complained to Song Ren a few words before leaving. What happened just now? Wu Yusen and Song Ren were acquaintances, so he asked directly without much politeness. Song Ren talked about Lin Fan's peculiar reaction speed. At first, he wanted to test Lin Fan's extreme reaction speed, but later he became more and more excited and forgot about it for a while. Fortunately, Lin Fan recovered well, but the fight lasted for a long time, and the last few heavier blows made her feel tired. When Wu Yusen arrived, he only saw Lin Fan frowning and a little overwhelmed and didn't see what happened before. Jin Sichin came in from outside the crowd and didn't see what happened either. She only heard that Song Ren and Lin Fan were fighting. Now when they heard what happened, they looked at each other. But it's impossible to try again now, right? Lin Fan was already tired enough. Several people looked back and saw that she had fallen asleep on the sofa. It's true. When I saw it, I was shocked. Li Chunhua said in a low voice, I didn't expect it. I didn't expect that Lin Fan's reaction could be so fast. So it's a new reaction. After absorbing 818. Jiu frowned slightly. The more abnormalities appeared in Lin Fan's body, the greater the distance between her and ordinary people. He felt from the bottom of his heart that this was not a good thing. The known abilities now are super healing, rejection, and today's rapid reaction? Wu Yusen asked. These are all external manifestations. The essence is that a cell activity has increased. Jin Sichin said. Wu Yusen asked in detail what happened, and several people told them what they knew. No wonder. Wu Yusen nodded. I was saying that this time, when I saw her, she seemed younger and prettier than before. Is it because of the increased cell activity? Huh? Didn't you praise her? Jin Sichin was shocked. He was wondering why Wu Yusen suddenly praised people, and it turned out that he was telling the truth. Did she really become younger? Gao Fei asked. I feel that Lin Fan seems to be different from before, but doesn't she wear makeup every day now? I thought it was because of makeup. She hasn't put on makeup recently. Jin Sichin was speechless. She just put on lipstick recently, which can't be considered makeup. Huh? Gao Fei was dumbfounded. Putting on lipstick doesn't count as makeup. Jin Sichin wanted to say something but gave up. What's there to say to these straight men? She didn't put on makeup. As expected, Lee Chun-hua got anxious when he heard it. Where are those expensive cosmetics? Aren't they all wasted? After what happened some time ago, he forgot to ask Lin Fan to put on makeup. When he mentioned it, he remembered the money he was cheated out of buying cosmetics, and he instantly began to feel entangled. Gu coughed softly. The point is not makeup, the point is that she has become younger. We are in contact with her every day, so we can only vaguely feel that she has become more beautiful, and naturally attribute the reason to makeup. Wu Yusen has not seen Lin Fan for a long time, so he can notice the difference at a glance. Jin Sichin continued, I actually found that Lin Fan has become more beautiful, but I didn't think about it in this way. Most people wouldn't think of this. Song Ren shook his head gently. It just so happens that Kuang Li hasn't appeared recently. If you want to know the details, you still have to ask him. Yes, Kuang Li seems to have not appeared for a long time. Didn't he always care about Lin Fan's biochemical indicators before? Lee Chun-hua was also puzzled. It should be for other tasks. Song Ren knew that they were actually under the control of Cui Yan. As a biochemical madman, Kuang Li suddenly ignored Lin Fan when he knew that Lin Fan's cell activity had increased and was very interested. There must be only one reason Cui Yan gave him other tasks. I'll send him a message and ask. Song Ren sent a message to Kuang Li on the communicator, asking about the growth of Lin Fan's cell activity. After a while, Kuang Li called. Song Ren pressed the speakerphone so that everyone could hear. Captain Song, how do you know that Lin Fan's cell activity is still increasing? Kuang Li pulled out Lin Fan's cell culture data. Recently, he has been busy with other experiments and ignored Lin Fan's data. If it weren't for Song Ren's message, he wouldn't have thought of looking at it. The result is unknown until you see it, and you will be shocked when you see it. We see that Lin Fan seems to be getting younger, so we wonder if it may be related to the growth of cell activity you mentioned. Song Ren replied. Getting younger? Kuang Li was stunned. He didn't expect this result. Then he became excited again. Wait for me, I'll be there. Getting younger and more beautiful. Don't say Lin Fan is old. Chapter 219 Young. TSK, 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 TSK. Kuang Li held Lin Fan's hand and sighed. What are you doing? Lee Chun-hua couldn't bear it anymore and stepped forward to pull Lin Fan's hand out. Even if Kuang Li didn't mean to take advantage of her, it was still strange to always hold the hand of the opposite sex like this. Didn't you see that Lin Fan's face fell? Lin Fan was also hesitating whether to pull his hand out, but was afraid of delaying Kuang Li's business. Fortunately, Lee Chun-hua took action in time, and she finally breathed a sigh of relief. She really looks younger. Kuang Li stood up and looked at Lin Fan's face carefully. He hadn't seen Lin Fan for a while, and he saw that she was indeed much younger than the last time he saw her. Didn't I tell you a long time ago? You came in to see it. Why are you grabbing her hand? Lee Chun-hua asked unhappily. Kuang Li didn't mind Lee Chun-hua's bad tone. I'm looking at her skin condition. Skin condition? Everyone looked at Lin Fan's hand. Is there anything different? Yes, her skin has become more tender. Kuang Li nodded. Last time I drew blood from her, her skin was not as delicate as it is today. When everyone heard this, they couldn't help but want to get closer to take a look. But they were too embarrassed to hold her hands. Lin Fan simply stretched out his two hands for everyone to see. Is it tender? Gao Fei asked Lee Chun-hua in a low voice. I don't know. Lee Chun-hua scratched her head. The others were also confused. Who would care about the skin condition? Even if Jin Sichin paid more attention to skincare, she had never stared at Lin Fan's skin to study it. Forget it. Don't look at the hands. Just look at the data. Kuang Li knew that it was useless to talk to them. He turned on the big TV and projected the data in the tablet onto it. Everyone automatically found a place to sit and gathered around the sofa. Hey, this is the latest cell activity data just obtained. Kuang Li posted a data chart, knowing that no one could understand it, and then posted several sets of data curve charts. Compared with the activity some time ago, you can see that it is showing a significant upward trend. On the graph, the upward slant line is very obvious, almost forming a steep slope. What is some time ago? Before the injury? Wu Yusen asked. No, it's the data after the injury. At that time, her cell activity was different from before. Kuang Li denied it and called up another data chart. This is the cell activity before the injury. You can compare it. The curve of the newly called chart is gentle. When placed next to the previous chart, it is almost like a straight line without fluctuations. Kuang Li said a lot of technical terms again. Because it was too professional, everyone was confused and didn't understand it very well. To put it simply, take her previous cell activity as the normal base. Kuang Li pointed to the straight line and said, normal people's cells will gradually decline with age, showing a negative growth. Lin Fan's data is the opposite, she is showing a positive growth. This is the cell activity data of normal people we collected. Kuang Li called up a group of charts to explain to everyone. Normal people have different cell activity at different ages. At the age of 36, the cell activity is averaged at this position. And Lin Fan's cell activity before the injury is not much different from that of normal people. Although Lin Fan's physique was slightly better than that of ordinary people due to long-term training at that time, her physical condition at that time was not much different from that of ordinary people because of her early living conditions and short training time. Look at her current data and refer to other people's cell activity. Kuang Li released several curves of different colors. Look. Do you see it? Her current cell activity data is about the same as that of ordinary people at around 25 years old. So, not only did her cells not age, but they became younger. Now her body is in the state of 25 years old. Is that what you mean? Song Ren summarized it with his own understanding. That's the idea, but not completely. Kuang Li nodded and shook his head. Becoming younger is just one of the manifestations of increased activity. You all know the others too. I heard that an extremely fast reaction speed was discovered today, right? I suspect that, if the cell activity continues to increase, there may be other manifestations. And Lin Fan may continue to get younger. What? Still getting younger? Li Chunhua swallowed her saliva. Is this rejuvenation? Lin Fan blinked. He has already lost 10 years, from 36 to 26. Will he continue to get younger? Although getting younger is every woman's dream, this kind of transformation always makes people feel a little uncertain. But according to what you said, if I continue to get smaller, will there be any problems? GU asked. After all, it doesn't seem to work if I'm too young. Everyone immediately thought of Lin Fan shrinking smaller and smaller, turning into a little bean, a baby. Can he still transform into a star like this? My initial guess is that cell activity will not continue to grow when it reaches a relatively strong point. The growth I'm talking about is not simply about getting younger, but about perfection in quality, appearance, and other aspects. Kuang Li had already made up his mind about this question. I don't understand. Gao Fei shook his head. Let me put it this way, when was your best physical strength and quality? Kuang Li asked Gao Fei. 17 or 18? 20 years old? Gao Fei said uncertainly. From your childhood to 17 or 18 years old, your physical quality reaches its peak, and then it remains until your 20s, and then slowly begins to decline. Kuang Li called up another chart to show everyone intuitively, so too old or too young will decline. I guess Lin Fan's cell activity will stop at the peak, but whether it will continue to maintain in the future is still unknown. Oh my god, that means going back to 18 years old. Li Chunhua slapped her thigh. 20 this year, 18 next year. No, it doesn't even have to be next year. You will be 18 next month. Jin Sichin glanced at Lin Fan. She didn't seem surprised, leaning back on the sofa with a calm face. Lin Fan, what do you think? What can I think? Lin Fan shrugged. This matter has not been determined yet. Although it is speculation, according to the current data analysis, the possibility is very high. Kuang Li said. Lin Fan curled his lips. Even if it is true, what I say does not count. Anyway, it's like this now. Whatever happens, I just accept it. Lin Fan is open-minded. It's good that she has saved her life and returned. As for the subsequent rejuvenation and enhanced abilities, it seems that they are all good for her. She certainly knows the law of conservation of energy for so many benefits. She must pay a price. But what can she do? No one asked for her opinion and asked her if she wanted it. So don't think about anything, just accept it. Don't think too much and get upset. After Kuang Li explained it clearly, seeing that everyone understood and Lin Fan accepted it well, he didn't say anything more. Before leaving, he drew another small tube of her blood to compare with the previous extracted samples. See if there is any difference between the fresh cells in Lin Fan's body and the cultured cells before. After Kuang Li left, everyone slowly withdrew from Lin Fan's rejuvenation and returned their attention to John Woo. Lin Fan sat cross-legged while eating and asked John Woo, who was watching her from the sofa, in a relaxed manner, "Hey, what are you doing here this time?" The editor said before that my protagonist is old, but this time he is not old, only 18. He is still full of experience. Ha 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 ha. This is what I said from the beginning. It is not a last minute change. Chapter 222 Things. 2 things. Wu Yusen took out a flat brocade bag from his bosom and handed it to Lin Fan. "What is this?" Lin Fan stopped eating, wiped his hands, took it, and opened it. "Bracelet?" In the brocade bag was a black ring, very thin, as if it would break if a little force was applied, but it felt very hard, and I don't know what material it was made of. It looked like a bracelet. "Yes, a bracelet." Wu Yusen smiled. "Doesn't it look familiar to you?" Seeing his mysterious look, Lin Fan brought the bracelet to his eyes and looked at it over and over again. "I haven't seen it before." "Ah, is this the earring from before?" Li Chunhua asked suddenly. "Really?" Lin Fan looked at Wu Yusen for confirmation, and when she saw him smiling and nodding, her eyes widened. "Really? How did you know?" she asked Li Chunhua. "This thing is completely different from before, okay? Aren't they all black?" Li Chunhua said as a matter of course. "Besides, didn't you say that brother Wu took your earring away before? Now he took it out again, so it should be true, right?" "Okay, the logic is completely correct." Lin Fan nodded in acceptance. "Old Khan has refined it again." Wu Yusen bared his big white teeth and explained. "He was afraid that you would reject the earrings again, so after thinking about it, he made it into a bracelet for you. Try it." Lin Fan didn't say much and put it on his left hand directly. The bracelet doesn't look big, and with a little force it can just pass through the hand bone and fall on the wrist, and it won't slip out easily. "It's so thin. Is it strong enough?" Lin Fan turned his wrist. The bracelet is so thin that it looks like a thin bracelet. If you look from a distance, you might think it's a black string tied around your wrist. Don't worry, it's still the same material as the original earrings, just a different shape. Wu Yusen was a little worried when he first got it. However, what Old Khan made must be a fine product, and their worries were completely unnecessary. "Do we need to shed blood to identify the master?" Li Chunhua suddenly asked. "That's not necessary." Wu Yusen was stunned for a moment and answered with a smile. "Ah, no need. I read in the novel." Before Li Chunhua could finish her words, Song Ren slapped her on the back. "I told you to read less weird novels." Song Ren's question was much more reliable than Li Chunhua's. "Is it really strong enough to be so thin? It won't break easily when it's hanging on your hand and moving around. It won't break. This material is strong, and it has been specially refined by Old Khan. You can make it with confidence. It won't break." Wu Yusen assured with a smile, and then said to Lin Fan, "Old Khan said he is not afraid of you losing control. The bracelet is mainly given to you to prevent your negative emotions. Don't have any psychological burden. Thank Old Khan for me." Lin Fan smiled. "By the way, didn't he say last time that he was in seclusion, and now he has come out?" Wu Yusen's eyes dimmed for a moment, and he turned his head to cover it up well, and said to Lin Fan with a smile, "Not yet. The things were sent in by special means. 800 is urging us, so I have to trouble Old Khan." The people of 800 were probably scared by this attack. On the one hand, they admired Old Khan's ability, and on the other hand, they were afraid that Xingqian would lose control after the upgrade. They firmly stated that they would not let Lin Fan transform until the limiter was on her body. On the surface, he said righteously that he would wait for Lin Fan to recover, but in private, he kept urging him to hand over the goods, and even reported him to the higher-ups. ZHU Kunjin received several orders from his superiors to urge him to hand over the goods, and he would scold for a long time in the office. He could not delay any longer, so he went to ask Kyan Leo to do something. Kyan Leo was in seclusion. Last time, he was distracted to save Lin Fan, and it seemed that he had caused some realm loss. Now he is here again. Don't they 800 always look down on the Special Affairs Office? Have to rely on them at the critical moment? Wu Yusen smiled and cursed in his heart. Don't tell Lin Fan about this and take revenge later. It's the hard work of Kyan Leo. Lin Fan held the bracelet and nodded seriously. Last time, Kyan Leo also suffered for me. When I go back, I must thank him well. When you go back, please say thank you for me. Don't worry. Kyan Leo is particularly partial to you. Wu Yusen smiled. Yes, Kyan Leo even called you little friend. Jin Sichin also thought of the meeting that Lin Fan had at the Special Affairs Office. Both times, old Kyan came out to participate. From the perspective of seniority, you are quite senior. Then is old Kyan really very powerful? Lee Chun-hua could not help asking while listening nearby. Gao Fei and Ji also pricked up their ears silently. That is, Wu Yusen said with pride. If it wasn't for the fact that old Kyan was in seclusion this time, your previous incident. He didn't finish his words, but just shook his head with an expression that it was not worth mentioning. Just this one moment, Lee Chun-hua and the others immediately felt inferior. But Wu Yusen was not exaggerating. The few people had experienced the situation at that time. If it wasn't for old Kyan, they would probably have been finished. As a person, you should know how to be grateful. Can you please convey our thanks to old Kyan first? Song Ren asked Wu Yusen. When there is a chance in the future, we will thank old Kyan in person. Lee Chun-hua and the other two nodded in unison, and they meant the same thing. Okay, no problem. Wu Yusen agreed readily. Lee Chun-hua was still looking forward to it. I wonder if I will have the chance to meet Mr. Kyan in the future. I don't know about that, but if you have the chance to go to our Special Affairs Office in the future, you will still have the chance to meet Mr. Kyan. Jin Sichin tempted with a smile. Can we? Can we go to the Special Affairs Office? Lee Chun-hua and Gao Fei wanted to go there during the Chinese New Year, but Jin Sichin was not there at the time, so everyone gave up. Yes. Next time you have a holiday, I, or Wu Yusen, will take you to have a look. Let you 800 talents who are used to high technology see the high technology of our Special Affairs Office. Jin Sichin smiled even more. Lee Chun-hua and Gao Fei were very happy, and Ji was also full of yearning. Song Ren coughed and asked Wu Yusen, didn't you say two things? Giving a bracelet is one, and what about the other one? Wu Yusen smiled so hard that his teeth were missing, and followed Song Ren's question and said, the other one is also giving something, but this thing is not for Lin Fan, but for your 623 laboratory. Everyone was stunned for a few seconds, and GU reacted first. Have you found something similar to 818? Wu Yusen's main task recently is to help find this thing outside. Now that he said he was sending something to the laboratory, he must have found it. Yes, I found another one. But it hasn't been confirmed yet. It just happened to be when Lin Fan's bracelet was finished, so I sent it together. Wu Yusen smiled with his big white teeth. Where did you find it? Lin Fan asked curiously. They had thought about how difficult it was for Wu Yusen to find things before, but they didn't expect that he would get something after a short time. It doesn't sound that difficult. Actually, I didn't find it. Wu Yusen took a sip of water and said comfortably. To be precise, someone else found it, and I took advantage of it. The thing was intercepted by the customs. Customs? Gao Fei asked in surprise. Is it the customs I was thinking of? Yes, the thing was intercepted at the airport, and was almost shipped out of the country. Wu Yusen smiled so hard that his eyes narrowed. Fortunately, the staff was careful and intercepted the thing. Otherwise, it would be really troublesome. Chapter 221 Crisis Awareness. Tell me, what's going on? Lin Fan's interest was also aroused, and even Song Ren sat next to him and waited quietly to listen. It's nothing, actually. Wu Yusen shrugged. When this thing was intercepted by the customs, they all thought it was a special ancient fossil and asked the Institute of Geology to take a look. Haven't I been cooperating with the Institute of Geology recently? After they took a look, they thought it was what I was looking for, so they notified me. Wu Yusen went over to take a look. Although it was not covered with thorns like 818, the feeling and color were quite similar. In addition, the Institute of Geology initially determined that it was not a common type of ore. He simply took the thing back and sent it to 800. Anyway, the laboratory will know whether it is or not after testing. Although the ore he sent a few times before was not the same as 818, it was said that they were also used in mechas. So Wu Yusen sent the thing over with the mentality of rather sending it by mistake than letting it go. After completing the handover procedures with the laboratory, he found Jin Sichin, and knowing that Lin Fan was eating in the cafeteria, the two of them went to find him. I saw a group of people surrounding him from behind. Song Ren was attacking Lin Fan. Everyone knows what happened next. I don't know if it's this time. Lee Chun-ho was a little anxious, but what's the situation with shipping this thing abroad? Everyone knows that there are many foreigners who do bad things and secretly ship antiques that belong to us to their own countries, and finally they become theirs. But I only saw these things on the internet and never really encountered them. I didn't expect that this time it was so close that Wu Yusen happened to encounter it. Where was it originally going to be shipped to? Song Ren frowned and asked. The shipper is a romantic countryman, but after our investigation, we found that his goods passed through the romantic country and finally arrived in the United States. This level of identity concealment can't be hidden from a senior special agent like Wu Yusen. It was investigated clearly in a few minutes. So, do they know the function of this thing? Gao Fei also frowned. Whether they know it or not doesn't change their nature as thieves. Gu said coldly, I tend to think they know it. What do you mean? Wu Yusen became interested. The green turtle before. Gu opened his mouth, but suddenly remembered that Lin Fan was sensitive about this topic, so he paused. Lin Fan smiled and showed him the new bracelet on his hand. It's okay, just tell me. This treasure will suppress my fear. Tell me. Gu glanced at Jin Sichin, and when he saw him nod, he continued. Haven't we always wondered where the green turtle came from before? Gu looked at everyone. Everyone was looking for the origin of the green armored man, but the information provided by the dead man was limited, and they still couldn't find out where he came from. If the stars were transformed by Lin Fan through contact with 818, then by the same token, the green turtle must have also been transformed by contact with the same thing. Everyone nodded silently. They had thought of these a long time ago. Lin Fan's 818 was fished out of the river and fell where we are, so it must belong to us. But where did the thing that caused the green turtle to transform come from? Gu raised a question. Originally I thought that it was possible that something similar to 818 appeared in their country. After all, if there is one, there will be two. There is an 818 in our river. The world is so big, it is possible that there will be a similar one in their territory, right? Everyone continued to nod. But after hearing Wu Tekin say that they were smuggling things out, I had another idea. Gu said, is it possible that they knew about biological armor and the function of 818 earlier than us, so they are looking for it all over the world? If the United States discovered the secret of the green turtle earlier than us and invested in research earlier. I'm not trying to show off my own prestige, but to be honest, their level of technological development is not inferior to ours at all. Gu shrugged helplessly. If they discovered the secret of 818 earlier and knew how to use it, then there is a reasonable explanation for the smuggling. Because they know the value of that thing. The more everyone listened, the more serious they became. Moreover, this is only what we found. Are there any that have not been discovered and have been shipped out? This is just the United States. Have other countries done similar things? After Gu finished speaking, no one spoke for a long time. This matter is simple to analyze, but in practice, it is extremely confusing. A year ago, everyone thought that Lin Fan could transform into a star was just an isolated case. Everyone was focused on cracking the technology of the star and developing their own mecha technology. They didn't realize that there might be people like her in other places on the same planet who could also transform into biological armor until the green turtle appeared. Even now, they still don't know where the green turtle came from and don't know whether his motive for attacking was personal or there was an organization behind him. By the way, Lin Fan broke the silence. When did you name that guy the green turtle? The serious atmosphere was suddenly broken. GU was stunned for a moment before answering. It was brotherly, who kept calling him Turtle Lamb. I simplified it. I felt that saying one more word would be a waste. Lin Fan felt that it was quite appropriate, so he gave GU a thumbs up. GU smiled shyly and continued. Anyway, after the appearance of Green Turtle, I feel that the situation has changed. The battlefield has expanded from 623 to the whole world in an instant. Moreover, we don't know where the enemy is. Song Ren and Wu Yusen, two former special forces, looked serious and said nothing. It's not that they haven't thought about similar problems, but they didn't touch GU's point. Now GU's sorting has opened up a new direction for them. War is never a fun thing. Song Ren subconsciously groped his injured knee. I don't know if he was injured in the previous fight with Green Turtle, or the intensity of the recent recovery training was too high, or his knee has reached its limit. The pain began to appear again. From time to time, it was tingling, and sometimes it felt numb. He didn't tell anyone about this. GU showed him a more worrying scene. For a moment, he couldn't even sort out his thoughts and think about what to do next. Okay, don't worry about it. Jin Sichin rolled his eyes at the gloomy look of the group of people. If the sky falls, there are tall people to support it. What's the point of worrying now? It's still uncertain what will happen. Yes, maybe things are not that bad. In the end, you are just scaring yourself. Lin Fan was not used to such a serious atmosphere. She had never thought about such things at all. It's not that she didn't have a sense of crisis, but after being enlightened by Jin Sichin, she changed her way of thinking. These uncertain worries were just garbage that increased her mental burden. Thinking is useless. It's better to face it directly. What's the use of thinking? Anyway, her brain is not that smart, and she can't think of any good solution. If she really encounters a situation, she doesn't need to think, just go ahead and it's over. When it's time to take action, take action. This is Lin Fan's way of survival now. Enter a new volume. Well, it will be more chaotic. Once this transition is over, things will get exciting later. Chapter 222x0112. GU's words caught Wu Yusen's attention. He left in a hurry without staying for too long, wanting to check the previous import and export records to see if there was anything overlooked. Song Ren and the others also felt a stronger sense of crisis because of this conversation. The training was even more intense, and the intensity was no less than that of the special forces. Lin Fan thought that, after wearing the new limiter, the people in the laboratory would soon contact her to prepare for the next transformation. Unexpectedly, after waiting for 3 or 4 days, there was no movement. What happened? It shouldn't be. Since the last time Lin Fan transformed while sleeping and split the bed, many people in the laboratory expressed regret that they did not take any images of Xingqian after the upgrade. As Lin Fan's body recovered, everyone's expectations for the upgraded Xingqian became stronger. They were just waiting for the limiter from the special office to be delivered to find out. Why is it that now, with the right time, right place and right people, the audience has no reaction? Confused, Lin Fan strolled to find Dr. Zhao for a physical examination and consciously did what he could. After the physical examination was done, the reason for the silence in the laboratory was also known. We've been studying the new thing every day, and we can't get away. Wu Yi stayed in the laboratory for 2 days. Seeing a group of people circling around a black stone like crazy, he felt it was boring. He stayed in the office building these days. No results yet? Lin Fan asked, after pulling his clothes straightened. It should be a result after such a long time. I heard that they think it is very likely to be 818. Wu Yi handed Lin Fan a bottle of drink and opened one for himself. If they can really confirm that it is 818, then they can understand this. Didn't they say that when they studied 818 before, they didn't find anything? How can they be sure that it is the same type as 818 now? Lin Fan took a sip and asked curiously. They can't find anything. They just compared the data with the previous data of 818. Dr. Zhao walked in and took over. I don't know the details. Anyway, it's hard for outsiders to fit in the atmosphere in the laboratory now. Lin Fan imagined it in his mind and could roughly guess what was going on in the laboratory. There's nothing wrong with your body now. The wound doesn't hurt that much, right? Dr. Zio asked, checking the various reports from the previous examination on the computer. It's normal that it doesn't hurt anymore. It was just that when you were fighting with Song Ren yesterday, he forgot to hold back at the end, so it hurt a little bit. Lin Fan and Dr. Zio learned about what happened yesterday. Wow, you can tie with Captain Song? Wu Yi immediately looked over in admiration. That's amazing. It wasn't a tie, he still held back. Although Lin Fan denied it, he was actually a little happy in his heart. You said it took a long time to fight with Song Ren before it started to hurt. Dr. Zio confirmed it again and then said, I feel like it should be almost healed. But it's best to avoid the situation of yesterday where you had to use a lot of force. Yeah, got it. I'll pay attention. Lin Fan nodded obediently. Okay, I'll tell Song Ren later. Ask him to give you some proper exercise to restore your physical fitness. After Dr. Zio finished speaking, he carefully recorded it on the computer. Dr. Zio, I noticed that Lin Fan's figure is really good now. Wu Yi leaned over and said, I heard that it's all due to cell growth. If it goes on like this, does Lin Fan still need to do physical training? Dr. Zio finished his work and replied, I also noticed that her physical fitness is actually very good now. Theoretically, fitness and training are inseparable, but in Lin Fan's case, it's hard to say. Wu Yi nodded vigorously, but training is still necessary. Although she has a good physique now, strong muscle explosiveness, and fast reaction, but her experience in fighting enemies is still too poor. Dr. Zio smiled. Song Ren will definitely not let her go. Just wait and see. Haha, Lin Fan, I wish you good luck. Wu Yi didn't mean to worry about Lin Fan at all, but was very happy. I think Lin Fan may not be the one who needs good luck. Dr. Zio replied seriously. After all, with her current cell vitality, it's not certain who will beat whom at that time. Lin Fan was stunned, and Wu Yi laughed even more. That's even better. I really want to see Captain Song get knocked down. Lin Fan, you better do your best. Even Dr. Zio's eyes revealed interest, wanting to see Song Ren get knocked down by Lin Fan. What kind of grudge is this? Hasn't Song Ren always been popular? Lin Fan was confused and just nodded. Knock down Song Ren? She had never thought about it. 2 days later, good news finally came from the laboratory. It has been basically confirmed that the thing sent this time is the same kind of 818, and it is officially named X0-112. This name is the usual style of 623. Lee Chun-hua couldn't help it and dragged a few people to the laboratory to watch the excitement. Everyone in the laboratory was beaming with joy, visibly happy, and walked with the wind. Several members of the team surrounded the pitch black 112 and fell into deep thought. This thing is not quite the same as 818. Lee Chun-hua stroked his chin and finally managed a sentence. When 818 was first sent over, it looked like a rusty iron lump, and it was also like a hedgehog, with many protruding spikes. Later, after being absorbed by Lin Fan, its color changed to dark gray, and its appearance became rounder. Now 112, which is covered in a glass cover, looks even darker. Although the surface is a bit angular, it is still relatively smooth overall, like an ore dug from an unknown mountain. Can you confirm that it is the same substance as 818? Gao Fei was also puzzled. The color and shape are different. How can you tell? It's a long story. Wenbin appeared behind the few people with heavy dark circles under his eyes. In fact, we can't be 100% sure. But after comparing the previous data of 818, it feels almost certain. Anyway, it is definitely not a product of this planet. We think that it is impossible for so many different alien products to emerge at once, and its property data is really close to 818, so we basically judge that it is the same kind of 818. Zhajing also appeared with a notebook and added in a hoarse voice. So it's not completely confirmed yet. Lee Chun-hua felt that it was a little different from what she thought. It's impossible to confirm it completely. Wenbin smiled bitterly. It's impossible for me to ask him, and he will answer it himself. Anyway, the smelted sample is almost the same as 818, and the strength and hardness are also similar. We feel that it should be it. Actually, there is another way. GU interrupted. When Lin Fan touched 818 before, didn't he say that he could sense the heartbeat? Many of us have tried it, and we didn't feel anything. Ke Wenbin shook his head, but Lin Fan didn't try it. GU's words made everyone silent for a moment. Let Lin Fan touch it? Ke Wenbin was very hesitant. What if she synchronizes again? Upgrade again? It shouldn't happen. GU analyzed calmly. 818 was able to synchronize and upgrade because it merged with Lin Fan. 112 is already an independent entity. Even if it can sense 818 and be detected by Lin Fan, it should not continue to merge with 818 and then upgrade, right? Ke Wenbin thought it made sense, but he couldn't make a decision himself, so he held an emergency meeting and started a big discussion. The final result would be to let Lin Fan try. Chapter 223 Upgrade again. But before Lin Fan tried, she wanted to show everyone what the upgraded Xingqian looked like. Could she adapt to the new upgrade? What if Xingqian was unstable after the upgrade and Lin Fan touched 112 and it reacted again? That would be terrible. I didn't expect to see myself in the end. Lin Fan blinked. Sure enough, you can't just watch the fun. Fortunately, she was well prepared for the transformation. Her body was okay and her bracelet was in place. Although it was a little sudden, it was also expected. The people in the laboratory moved quickly again, setting up cameras, connecting to the protective net, preparing for the next transformation. But everyone was a little worried about the conditions for the transformation. Lin Fan, who didn't have a transformation device, also seemed a little at a loss. A group of people stared at each other in the training ground. Didn't you say that you changed when you were dreaming last time? How did you change at that time? Yu Guangli asked, while sitting on the console. It should be achieved by consciousness conversion. Lin Fan, don't worry, calm down and think about the transformation again. Jin Sichen also rushed over after hearing the news. Lin Fan was afraid that she would transform if she thought of Xingqian, so she controlled herself for a long time not to think about Xingqian. But the human brain is very strange. The less she thought about it, the harder she could not forget it. Fortunately, the shadow caused by the green turtle incident had been bothering Lin Fan, and it was a coincidence that she had not thought about Xingqian for a long time. Now, it's finally time. Lin Fan stood in the center of the venue, took a deep breath, closed her eyes, and felt her thoughts sinking in the darkness. She called Xingqian in her heart. She heard bursts of exclamations in her ears. When Lin Fan opened her eyes again, her sight had already moved higher. Xingqian was one size larger after the upgrade. The outer armor, that seemed to be slender and close to the body, had all become wider and thicker. Compared with Fu Guang, who was nearly 3 meters tall, it didn't seem small at all. It was still white in color, but the red decorative parts that were originally distributed everywhere had almost all changed. On the white helmet, there was a wide V-shaped red line extending from the tip of the nose along the eyebrows to the top of the head. The slender eyes were exposed below, and the emerald green lights were on, proving that Lin Fan inside was opening his eyes. On both sides of the helmet, the originally pointed and slender feathers became larger, like 2 small wings, and raised high. The red color of the shoulder blades completely disappeared and became larger and wider, and also raised high, with the highest point almost as high as the feathers. The originally smooth edges also became angular curves like the edges of bat wings. The inside was blocked by the black inner armor, and it was difficult to see what was inside. The breastplate was also thickened, but it was not as obvious as other parts. The most prominent part in the middle also had a red V-shaped decoration, which extended to the bottom of the shoulder armor, and there were 2 forward-facing diamond-shaped engines at the armpit. Under the breastplate, outside the originally exposed black inner armor, there was also a triangular piece of shielding. The triangular armor at the waist and hips also increased in size, and there was a Y-shaped red decoration on it. The outer armor of the legs became thicker, and the red decorations disappeared completely. There was also an arc-shaped inverted triangle structure raised upward at the knees, and the tip was very sharp. You can imagine what the consequences would be if you were hit by such a knee. The outer armor of the arm is also thickened. except for the black inner armor of the finger part. The black inner armor is almost invisible in other parts, especially on the outside of the forearm, like the knee. There is also an inverted triangle structure at the elbow joint, and the tip almost reaches the shoulder. Such a structure, if hit successfully with the elbow, will definitely make the enemy completely incapable of action. There are two more slender and pointed structures on the back of the hand. After making a fist, these two pointed convexities are like two daggers, which will also produce a high lethality. The toe part has also become sharper. The original arc foot shape is completely gone, and the outer armor on the instep is high, with a mountain-shaped sawtooth structure on the edge. The heel is still high, as if it can rush out at any time. A barbed structure is also added to the heel. This angle allows Xingqian to give you a chill, no matter from the front, back, front, or side. The changes behind are also not small. The original diamond-shaped propulsion system has become a rectangle that is staggered up and down, two on each side. The outer armor on the back also extended downwards quite a bit, almost covering most of the exposed inner armor. There was also a red triangle outer armor covering the lower back. The most surprising thing was that next to the engine, at the position of the shoulder blade, there were three long rectangular structures hanging down, overlapping in different lengths, like a folding fan, which looked like wings. Judging from the appearance alone, Xingqian's attack power after this evolution was stronger than the previous green turtle. In this comparison, the green turtle seemed to be in an unupgraded state. But, where is the weapon? It seems that there is no weapon. No matter what the appearance of the green turtle is, the turtle gun is real. Everyone saw that he pulled it out from his back on the spot. After Xingqian upgraded, didn't he have a weapon? Everyone silently focused their attention on the back of Xingqian. Could it be this wing-like thing? Before everyone could figure out a result, Xingqian suddenly turned back to Lin Fan. The next second, she pounced forward and knelt on the ground. Hey Guangli's voice came from the microphone. How did it change back? He hadn't finished watching it yet. How is it? Jin Sichin and Song Ren ran over to help him up immediately. It's okay, but I feel a little bit lacking in strength. Lin Fan was slightly out of breath, but his face was fine. How is the wound? Dr. Zhao asked nervously. Lin Fan stood up and felt it for a while. It seems to be okay, nothing special. That's good. Dr. Zhao breathed a sigh of relief. It's still shorter this time. Jin Sichin was still relatively sober. How long could you change before? Less than 10 seconds. Zhao Jing's voice came. Ah, isn't that back to the beginning? Lin Fan only knew that the time was not long, but he didn't expect it to be so short. When Xingqian just changed, it started with 10 seconds. It's okay, we have experience in this regard. Li Chunhe was not worried at all. Eat more and practice more, you will be back soon. This method was used before to extend Xingqian's standby time to more than 2 hours. Moreover, compared to the beginning, when Lin Fan fainted after the transformation, although the duration is shorter now, the state after returning is still good. Everyone agreed deeply and was full of expectations for Xingqian's future. But all this must be based on the condition that Lin Fan's body allows. The time just now was too short, and no one had time to see it carefully. However, looking at Lin Fan's condition today, although it is not too bad, but she is panting and falling, which is obviously not very good. So a group of people were patient and began to take care of Lin Fan. Yes, it is literal. Because they need to increase her energy, someone will hand Lin Fan food and drink anytime and anywhere. Later, for convenience, Lin Fan specially carried a crossbody bag with a bag of food in it and kept eating. At the same time, Song Ren's new physical training plan was officially implemented. Lin Fan began to accept the care of the big devil again. Under the expectation of everyone, Xingqian's standby time has steadily increased, and finally there is enough time to accept the test. 222 was locked in the small dark room in the morning. Please forgive me, my dears. When I write about handsome guys, I only write handsome. I use a lot of words to write about mechas. I feel overwhelmed. It's so difficult to write. Can you imagine what the stars look like through my description? Well, I'm learning to draw. When I learn it well, I will draw it for you. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. we cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 224 Weapons. Maybe it was because of the experience of successfully increasing the duration. Or maybe Lin Fan's cells are growing actively now, and his physical fitness is incomparable. With the frequency of doing the transformation test every 3 days, in less than a month, the standby time of Xingqian has been steadily stopped at 3.5 minutes. The time is not long, but because of the high frequency, some basic data measurements have been almost completed. Most of the new structures have also been studied. For example, how sharp are the extra spikes on the joints of Xingqian? In fact, from the structure itself, it is not that sharp, but with the hardness of Xingqian, the final result is that no matter what you poke, it will make a hole. This structure is good, and the attack power is very strong. Zhang Zhaoji happily recorded it beside him. He has a new inspiration again. It would be great if it was in this state before. Ke Wenbin couldn't help but sigh. If they were bolder at the beginning, and didn't luck back and forth, and let Lin Fan absorb 818 earlier, when the green turtle attacked, it might be a different result. Why do you say that? Because of the new 112 material, the existence of the turtle gun is no longer as important as before. Everyone thought it was a bit of an eyesore, and unanimously decided to melt it down and make materials. But don't underestimate the turtle gun, it's actually very heavy. This was seen when several second generation armors failed to move it. For the staff, moving the turtle gun is still quite laborious. Lin Fan happened to be there that day, so they asked her to help transfer the things from the cabinet to the cart. Without saying a word, Lin Fan transformed into Xingqian and used 2 fingers to pick up a relatively clean place with disdain, trying to move it that way. But as mentioned before, the turtle gun is a small cone at the top and a large cone at the bottom, and it is still quite heavy. Lin Fan's 2 fingers didn't hold it firmly, and the gun slid down. She didn't care whether it was dirty or not, and hurriedly grabbed it to make up for it, and her other hand also hurriedly caught it. The gun was successfully caught, but because of too much force, it was bent. Everyone present was stunned, and couldn't say a word. The culprit who had stabbed Xingqian to death before was just easily bent. Lin Fan was surprised and felt embarrassed. Fortunately, this thing was supposed to be put into the furnace, so it doesn't matter whether it changes shape or not. Yu Guangli also suggested that Lin Fan use the tip of the gun to poke Xingqian's new outer armor. Lin Fan hesitated for a moment and did as he was told. After careful probing several times, not to mention the outer armor, even the inner armor gloves were not pierced, and the tip of the gun twisted into a fishhook. In short, after this incident, everyone has a new understanding of Xingqian's strength. Data testing cannot measure the upper limit, but from this series of changes, we can know that Xingqian's hardness and strength are definitely worse than before. That's why everyone regrets it. If they upgraded earlier. But knowing it earlier is more valuable than gold, and there is no regret medicine in the world. In addition, the wings that made everyone curious were successfully unfolded in the later stage. They stood up high. Although we don't know what they are used for, they still look pretty powerful. The most anxious weapon was also found. They are the 2 dagger-like things on the back of the hand. They are attracted into the armor and can be pulled out from the wrist. If it is fully pulled out, it is 2 stick-like weapons with a length of more than 60 centimeters. One end is a long and flat dagger, and the other end is a larger arrow-shaped triangular protrusion similar to the structure of the elbow. Everyone thought it was a weapon like a double-handed axe, but Lin Fan somehow managed to insert the 2 daggers on the back of his hand together to form a double-headed gun that is 1.3 meters long. Everyone thought that this was the end, but GU found 2 cross structures of similar thickness at the root of the wings behind Xingqian. Everyone studied it and felt that it was consistent with the socket at the end of the dagger. Lin Fan tried it. This rolling weapon is usually stuck in the armor very firmly, but when you want to pull it out, you don't even need to use much force. It will fly out smoothly with a light touch of your fingertips. She held this end of the dagger, waited for the weapon to be fully exposed, and then inserted it under the wings with her backhand, just enough to insert it into the cross structure behind. After a slight twist to fix it, pull it out completely, and put the 2 extended ends together. forming a double-pointed spear that is more than 2 meters long. Lin Fan held the spear in one hand and shook it happily. As a result, the tip of the spear opened to both sides, forming a triangular pointed head. She was even happier when she saw it. She danced excitedly for 2 circles and felt that the hand felt very good. At the end, she stuck the spear into the ground and pierced through the floor. Okay, the details are not important. In short, everyone was excited about Xingqian's new weapon. It can be short or long, can be used with 2 hands or 1 hand. It couldn't be better. If it was, forget it. It's better not to think about the past. But now if there are any monsters, there is really no need to worry. With such confidence, Lin Fan's state, after transforming back from Xingqian, has become more and more stable. Seeing that the conditions are ripe, everyone decided to let Lin Fan try to touch 112 to see if he can feel anything. In case of accidents, various emergency plans were made. But what they were worried about did not happen. Lin Fan brought good news. When she touched 112, she felt familiar. It seemed that there was indeed some kind of relationship with 818. Everyone in the laboratory cheered and finally determined the source. But the joy did not last long, and problems also came along. How to use 112 to create another biological armor. Everyone knows that Lin Fan transformed into a star by touching 818. But everyone in 623 touched 112 once, and there was no reaction at all. We can't let everyone in 800 try it, right? Everyone thought that it might be the wrong method. Someone suggested that it was the reaction between Lin Fan's blood and 818 that caused the transformation. This time, everyone did not try blindly, but asked 2 generations of drivers to go up. After taking turns to bleed, they pressed their hands on it and waited for the induction. But the blood flowed so much that they were dizzy, but still nothing was found. What's going on? It's simply that there is a treasure in vein, but it can't be used. After everyone studied it, someone else proposed. Is it necessary to trigger the transformation mechanism under specific circumstances? For example, when Lin Fan transformed for the first time, he was almost dying. At that time, he was unconscious, and the bleeding triggered the first fusion of 818. Including a while ago, Lin Fan's heartbeat stopped, which was also considered a state of death. With the addition of blood, 818 took effect. Is it the premise of transformation that people have to die first? How should it be operated? The pilots signed up enthusiastically and were not afraid of death. But we can't just make such an attempt based on a guess. What if the guess is wrong? The person didn't transform and his life was gone. What a pity. It's not easy to train these pilots, so we can't waste it like this. So after thinking about it, everyone still rejected this plan and wanted to wait and see if there are other opportunities. Some people also thought about whether to disassemble 112, strengthen the bionic armor, and build a Mecha squadron. After unanimous discussion, everyone decided not to do it for the time being. First, the materials smelted from the turtle gun are enough to add weapons to the first generation and strengthen the outer armor for the second generation. Second, everyone knows that this material needs integrity. It's best not to split it easily. There are still some 818 on the first generation bionic armor that have not been taken out yet. They have considered replacing 818 with 112 materials and letting Lin Fan absorb them completely. But the stability of 112 is still unknown. If used improperly, it may cause problems. Moreover, with Xingqian's current state, a few more finger-sized 818 energies may not necessarily have a revolutionary impact. And the first generation of armor is almost unusable without 818 materials. 623 held several meetings and argued several times, but in the end the minority obeyed the majority and kept it as it was. And Lin Fan finally knocked Gu down easily when the snow fell for the first time. There is a weapon, right? Oh my, it's a double-headed spear, and it can be disassembled and used. Oh haha, can you imagine what it looks like? Otherwise, wait for me to draw it. Chapter 225 Bionic Armor Transformation. Pa. Gao Fei clapped his hands beside him. Since he was at the bottom of the list, Gu had a tendency to surpass him. He was so anxious, but he couldn't be impatient. His bones were still fragile, so he had to take it slowly. Lin Fan knocked Jiu over with one hand. In Gao Fen's heart, it was almost the same as knocking Jiu over himself. Wow, Lin Fan, you are so powerful now. Li Chunhua couldn't help but exclaimed. It will be my turn next, right? Lin Fan's physical fitness is very good now. Not only in terms of reaction ability, but also in the increase of physical strength and the speed of mastering various skills. Even his brain seems to have become smarter. In the past, although she could master the movements taught by Song Ren quickly, it still took a process. After a period of time and thousands of times of practice, she could really master them. But now, she can remember the movements immediately, after being demonstrated once. When she performs them again, she can basically complete 70 to 80%. Practice a few more times, it's done. The coordination of body and strength is just right, and it's hard to believe that she has just learned it. If Li Chunhua and the others hadn't been watching, they probably wouldn't have believed it. Song Ren also felt the pressure. Lin Fan's learning speed was too fast. He kept absorbing various skills from him like a sponge, and he was like a genius. He could learn once he was taught. If this continued, he would soon have no more moves and skills to teach. Although Li Chunhua had not been defeated by Lin Fan yet, he just had more combat experience and strength. Song Ren himself also had this advantage. But according to Lin Fan's current absorption speed, his combat experience was increasing rapidly, and his strength was also increasing. Song Ren could predict that Li Chunhua would be defeated soon, and he would not be able to hold on for too long. Another aspect of Lin Fan's victory over Jiu showed that her bare-handed strength had reached a quality comparable to that of the special forces. And an intuitive manifestation of this quality was that she could drive a bionic armor. When Fu Guang made it, Lin Fan went up to try it and was almost suffocated. Now, her physique and strength have been improved in all aspects, even surpassing Jiu. So theoretically speaking, driving a bionic armor will no longer be a problem. Under everyone's instigation, and also to satisfy his own curiosity, Lin Fan entered Yufeng. How is it? Yu Guangli closely followed the data from the combat suit in front of the control console. Not bad. Lin Fan's voice came from inside Yufeng, which felt different from being in Xingqian. It feels like wearing a pressure suit, but it's not particularly uncomfortable. The first time Lin Fan looked out of the window of the bionic armor, it felt very different from being in Xingqian. When she transformed into Xingqian, there were many differences, such as the field of vision was too high, but she didn't have any special feelings. After all, Xingqian and she were already 2 in 1, and the switching of states did not give her an extra sense of existence. When she entered the cab of the bionic armor, although the field of vision was at the same height, it felt, how to say it was like looking out of a motorcycle helmet, and the sense of existence that was hard to ignore made her very uncomfortable. Can you move? Yu Guangli asked again. Lin Fan came back to his senses, stretched his limbs easily, and walked around casually for a few more times. No problem, I feel fine. This was all expected by everyone. Lin Fan already had the qualification to drive the 623 bionic armor. Gao Fei, on the other hand, could only stand aside and watch because his fracture had not healed. Don't worry, when this wave of Mecha transformation is completed, you will be able to get on the machine. Zhang Zhaoji stood beside Gao Fei to comfort him. Are there many places to be modified? Gao Fei turned his head and asked. Well, it doesn't look like much on the outside, but the amount of work is not small, so it will take a lot of time. Zhang Zhaoji explained in detail, because the 818 materials are limited, the outer armor part is almost unchanged, but propulsion devices are added to the front armpits and rear shoulder blades. Zhang Zhaoji was inspired by the upgrade of Xingqian, and adjusted the position of the thrusters, and increased the capacity of the battery compartment to meet the needs of the propulsion system. After the transformation, your floating ability and duration should be greatly increased. Much stronger than before. Zhang Zhaoji said with a smile. Isn't it said that increasing weight will affect the action of the mecha? So we spent a lot of time on reducing the outer shell to make the power system more flexible. When Gao Fei first entered 623, he attended many theoretical classes and talked about this part. You remember correctly, but the power system has been upgraded, and the power assist has increased, so it's okay to add a little weight. Zerjing came over at some point. The exoskeleton mecha has made new achievements. The hydraulic sensors have been upgraded as a whole, becoming lighter and more flexible. We just happened to use it. Is it the one that Jiang Yu and his team used? Gao Fei thought of the exoskeleton bracket that couldn't cover anything, and he didn't expect that there would be new achievements. Yes, that's it. The exoskeleton has been studied for several generations, and the results are relatively mature. Before, the internal power structure of our mecha directly used their results. Now that their technology has been upgraded and more mature, we just took the opportunity to upgrade our mecha. Zerjing said. It's also thanks to the upgrade of the power structure, otherwise the extra weight of adjusting the thrusters this time would be really difficult to handle. Zhang Zhaoji showed a thankful expression. That's good. After the modification, the control feeling may be even lighter than before. Really? Gao Fei felt yearning after hearing this. After his fracture, it will take a long time to recover to his original state. If the control feeling of the mecha is lighter, it will be really good news for him. Yes, at least in theory. Zerjing answered affirmatively. In fact, I also thought about adding wings. Zhang Zhaoji said with some regret, but the weight is too heavy, and your main place is still on the ground. Adding wings is not very meaningful, so I gave up. Xingqian's wings are one of the biggest highlights of this upgrade. Although we don't know how to use them yet, they are obviously related to flying. Although the bionic armor's flying ability is not enough, there are not many opportunities to fly in daily life. At present, this state is just enough. If you really drag such a big pair of wings, even if it can increase the so-called flying ability, they are not Xingqian after all. The wings only need Lin Fan to open and close. Adding wings requires solving a lot of problems in weight, structure, power, system, and so on. And even if it is installed, it may not be flexible to use. The wings are large in size. If they cannot be controlled flexibly, they will become a hindrance. So although everyone is jealous of Xingqian's big wings, the wings are still removed in the proposal for improving the bionic armor. Compared with the flashy wings, the raw materials dissolved from the Wangba gun are more practical to be made into double spikes hidden in the arm guard. Zhang Zhaoji did not design the weapon into a changeable shape that can be held in hand like Xingqian, but directly fixed it in the arm guard. When in use, it can slide directly from the back of the hand, and the length can reach 30 to 40 centimeters, and the hand can still be free for some grasping and other actions. In addition to the weapons of the first generation armor, the rest of the second generation armor is coated with outer armor. The weapons are made into triangular spikes, one for each armor, and inserted horizontally on the back waist. When in use, pull them out, and use them with both left and right hands. The reason for this design is purely because the materials of the Wangba gun are limited, and it cannot be made into the first generation armor. It can only be done as it is. The upgraded bionic armor will have comprehensive improvements in controllability, strength, and offensiveness. Mecha technology has taken another big step forward. GU has fallen, so how long will Song Ren be far behind? End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.